Hey everybody, we have a big announcement. We have done the thing and launched a Patreon. So if you've been enjoying our podcast, please head over there and maybe drop a few dinars over there.
Into our problematic jar. That is our wallets.
Yeah, we're so excited to be launching this finally. And I think we're gonna be doing some really cool things. So hopefully with your support, we'll be able to do all of the stuff that we want to keep doing with Xena and Gabrielle podcast. So please check out the page. It's www, or as Lucy Lawless just said in the video, patreon.com/Xena podcast.
And now enjoy Maternal Instincts.
No.
Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera and I'm joined as always by my two perspicacious co-hosts.
Whoa, $5 word.
I don't know what it
Katie.
means. Hi.
And Livy.
Hello.
This week is a big episode, isn't it, guys?
I would say
Oh my god.
fairly large. Nothing happens in it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's just another drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Just regular old Xena times, you know? One kid kills another kid. Typical Xena stuff.
Kids kill each other in this one?
Oh my goodness.
This is 311 Maternal Instincts, and it's a continuation of the Rift saga. It's become a saga, right? It's no longer just a trilogy.
Yeah.
There's been so many of these.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been referring to it as a trilogy because Maternal Instincts was shot basically sequentially with Gabrielle's Hope and Deliverer. So it feels in many ways like the end of a trilogy. Like all the threads come together here. You have this kind of giant climax. In a way, this whole episode is a climax. It's everything coming together. And I think because of that, it feels really just kind of elegant. Like it's very just like forceful. There's not a lot of plot. It just kind of takes things to the conclusion that feels almost inevitable, which I think very much classifies it in tragedy. Like it is straight up capital T tragedy, this episode. You just feel that tragic hubris like exuding all over the place. Like every scene, you're just like, no!
This is kind of the biggest thing that's happened besides Gabrielle in the Deliverer and Gabrielle's Hope, like having her baby and everything like that. But like this is like the first big sort of character death, like legitimately.
I mean, we had Perdiccas back in
It doesn't count.
Return of Callisto. It mattered. It was like the season 2 version of this, but it shows how far we've come. That now the season 3 version is just like the most devastating thing in the world. Whereas season 2, you know, there wasn't really a lot of buildup for Perdiccas. That all happened in a single episode.
Oh, sweet Perd.
Which, as you recall, we liked. We liked that they didn't build that up. Like, we didn't want too much Perd. So
I mean, he basically had as much screen time as Solon.
That's true.
Like 2 episodes.
But I think Solon really benefits from the fact that we had Orphan of War, like this complete episode that introduced the character, that kind of created this drama for Xena, and you saw how that influenced everything that came before in her life as a warlord and everything that came after in her redemption. That was a key episode for understanding Xena, and you felt its repercussions throughout. So now then to go back to Solon to revisit that and to just take it to the worst possible place imaginable, I think that's just really strong storytelling. Like I said, I feel like they had set everything up that they needed to set up to make this as devastating as possible. Like all this episode really has to do is stick the landing, which it does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I don't remember what the gymnastic scores are.
But yeah, the topic that I would love to discuss with you guys is tragedy in general. Because I would say of the Xena arcs, you know, obviously we have a lot of sad stuff that happens throughout Xena, but I feel like this episode in particular is a tragedy. Like it's introducing characters. They have their fatal flaws. Those flaws are exploited, and people die.
Right.
Good genre?
Is that your fave genre, Vera?
I certainly, out of the Xenas, prefer the ones that are super dramatic.
I do too. I have always been
Yeah.
a fan of the darker storytelling on the
Absolutely.
show and elsewhere.
Yep. all the storytelling.
But yeah, I think to your point about what tragedy does in terms of exploiting characters' flaws or like exposing them, I think that is why the Rift arc is considered one of the highlights of storytelling for Xena, is because it's really taking the characters and like peeling them apart in really interesting ways.
Yeah, all the things that made Xena and Gabrielle such strong characters, like their strong perspectives about what is good and what is evil, like that's all being used against them in this arc, I think, in a really interesting way. Like my favorite thing about Gabrielle here is, hope is her hope. Like she needs to believe in human goodness, and you don't want that to be her flaw, because you're like, that's such a good thing.
I know.
Like that's saved Xena so many times.
Right.
Like that belief in Xena's goodness has brought Xena back from the edge. But here, that belief in goodness is absolutely a liability, and it leads to such horrible things. That's good tragedy, when you feel like, things couldn't happen like any other way. Like that was what needed to happen for Gabrielle and for Xena.
For sure. And I could definitely see why events in this episode would make it have a particularly polarizing reaction, much like earlier episodes for the fandom, just because it does go to a place you don't expect a show like this to go.
And
now, after the episodes that we've just had, maybe it is expected because we've seen the depths this show can go to, like the dramatic depths.
It is and it isn't, right? I certainly remember watching this episode for the first time. And I even knew things. I knew the general shape of the Rift arc. I knew that bad things were going to happen and that Bittersweet would come along to help repair the relationship.
How'd you know that?
I think from you. I think you.
I did not spoil you about this.
You totally did. You totally gave me just the vague. Like I understood kind of the general shape of the season based on things you said. Oh please,
She's lying. She looked it up herself. She knew spoilers.
But I didn't know the details. I didn't know exactly what happened. And I remember even like halfway through the episode when it seems like Solon is going to go off with Xena. I was like, well, that can't happen, but they would never kill Solon. So, awesome. I'm not sure what exactly is going to go down here. I know it's going to be bad, but I know there's like a limit to the badness. It never occurred to me this was going to be a no holds barred kill a child scenario, let alone a kill two children scenario. Because I think that's just not a place you expect your, action adventure, like cozy drama to do, even though, as we talked about in The Deliverer, it's not that cozy little drama anymore. But to go to this place, this dark place that's just so taboo, I mean, this is not a topic that I think anybody approaches lightly. Like, this is not entertainment to see a scene of a mother discovering her child murdered. Like, that is devastating. And it's really brave of the show to go there.
Agreed.
Like, it, pushes Xena and Gabrielle right up to the edge of the cliff and then, pushes them over. Literally. Very literally. But I think also figuratively. Like, this is not something you do to characters because there's just no way back. How do you then do, your quill is mightier, the way, where they're, skipping and laughing? You're
right.
No, this is, yeah.
That's a good question. And I just am so in awe of this show for going there and for figuring out how to get back from it.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about tragedy, but then also we are in the land of Xena Warrior Princess, so obviously that will lead us to talk about Greek tragedy, which I feel like has a lot of relevance here with this type of plot. Yeah, and the idea that those types of stories go to these really dark places, and that's the end of the story, right? And you feel like it's just completely a challenge that can't be surmounted. That's how do you get past this, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Greek tragedy is that, usually all the characters die at the end.
That's what I mean. It's
But that's not always the case. One of the plays that I was researching, because it just struck me as relevant to the goings-on in Maternal Instincts, is Medea. Who's
Tyler Perrius's Medea?
Wait.
Are you making some kind of
I didn't get it. I'm sorry. Good joke. I thought you just didn't say his name right, and I was like, oh, we gotta edit that out. I get it. Oh, it's good. Good job.
Thank you.
Medea's family Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, for those who don't know, Medea is a Euripides tragedy in which her husband Jason is going to divorce her so that he can marry this princess of a much higher social station. And he's just like dumping Medea. So she's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill the princess, kill her dad too, just for good measure. And then also kill my children, her children with Jason, who she then stabs to death. And this was like, people hated this play. This was not even kind of the expected and standard version of this story. Usually, like in the oral histories, Medea just kind of abandons her children and soldiers kill them. So, kind of like wiping her hands of responsibility. But Euripides was like, that's not where the drama lives. And like went all the way with this. And people didn't like it. It lost at the big drama festival that we were actually talking about last episode, the Athenian Dionysia.
I'm so happy that this circles back around to that, just because of how it is weird to have this major character arc, the Rift arc, interrupted by something like the Quill is mightier. So I just like that this circles back around to like somebody watched some farce before.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the child death came on and they were like, fuck this, no, boo.
Did he enter the farce one in that?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. He would have had, I think it would have been part of a 4-play cycle. You would have had.
But Aeschylus didn't enter the farce, right? Is that what you said?
I think there actually was a farce in Aeschylus's. Oh, you're right though. He got out of it somehow. Yeah. Aeschylus was not into farce,
why he wins.
Which I feel like you can tell from
Do you guys
his work.
Like freak out by the fact that we were talking about Euripides and we met him in season 1?
Always. I always love it.
As I recall, I was declared the Euripides.
Yes, you are. That's why you're talking about this stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's really funny then, to read fan reaction to Maternal Instincts and the Rift storyline in general, where, I mean, obviously people had very valid complaints, but a lot of the complaints can kind of be traced to, like, I just don't like this.
Right.
I don't want this in my stories. Like, I don't come to this kind of entertainment to see dead children.
Right.
And I think that was very much like what the Athenian audience's response was to Medea. Just like, we don't want to see a woman doing this.
Right. And I definitely, I totally like respect people having that opinion about what you want to watch personally, but that to me becomes just a personal complaint about what you want to have for your like fiction consumption. It's not actually a criticism of the show being good or bad. And I feel like sometimes it can come across as like complaints about the show actually being bad when that is not the case. This is the show, like, all cylinders, fantastic.
The zenith of Xena.
Ah, yes.
But like, speaking for myself, I have a lot of sympathy for people who just like could not go here, who found this like one mountain too far. What's the metaphor? That does not sound right. But like for me growing up, like I could not do most tragedy. Like I hated sad endings to the point where it became kind of infamous in my family. Like if we were going to a movie or a play or anything, my parents would like research in advance, like happy ending or sad ending. And they would warn me. And usually I did not go. And, like, if they rented a movie that was sad, I was, like, told to go upstairs.
Like what?
I definitely remember Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
I, like, went upstairs. But I, like, had this kind of twisted fascination with it. So I just kind of sat on the landing of my house so I could hear it. But, you know, hear zombie noises and
Is
stuff.
this why you don't like any zombie stuff now?
I definitely have a weird anti-zombie thing, which you could probably trace back to this. But, like, you know, I think the other side of, like, repulsion is fascination. So I sort of wanted to be close to it, but I also did not want to see it.
I must have been, like, the person who was just always fascinated. Because, like, I always loved just dark, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the juiciest. You want to see the characters pushed to that place because it like you feel like it reveals some essential truth about them. I sound like a serial killer when I say that. I'm like, people in pain are giving you their truth.
Well, it's, it's I mean, we talk about horror a lot. It's part of the, that's not the same genre, of course, but I feel like there's a catharsis level in all of those things that, I don't know, must to psychoanalyze myself, I don't know, but like just must relate to somehow.
Absolutely. And I know, Vera, like, you love the darkest stuff. I feel like that must
I am the serial killer of the group. Yeah.
Like, those are your faves. Why are they your faves?
I don't know. Well, I mean, as a kid, like, I was absolutely only interested in anything that adults did. So, like, I hated anything that had a kid in it because I'm like, I'm much more mature than this. I don't need a freaking kid here to be my like stand-in. Like I can understand rated R movies. Like I'm that mature. Yeah. So I don't know. So I've always kind of like just consumed that kind of entertainment.
Like, I know whenever we talk about the X-Files, you're always like, the episodes where Scully was kidnapped, otherwise...
Because, well, that's the most dramatic. Because I don't tune in to a show to watch them, like, sit in a coffee shop as much as that's great for a fic, you know. You wanted to see a very special episode of Friends.
I would watch that, Friends. The one where they all get murdered.
Yeah. But, you know, you just want to see the most insane drama happen to your favorite characters. I think that's what I want.
For me, I always love the actors. And I think that I always love seeing people like put through some kind of emotional ringer because it brings out the best in that. And I always
that's another thing where like the more crazy shit happens to the character, the more they get to act. So it's not like you're sitting there watching them, you know, just be phoning it in. It's like something is incredible happening and that is just different than every other episode or whatever.
And it makes the comfort that much more comforting. Like if the hurt is really devastating, then whatever comes after the hurt is just going to be such interesting drama and hopefully consoling drama.
Yeah.
And I mean, isn't that one of just the things about life and storytelling in general is like, how can you appreciate how funny, a day in the life is? Or, you know, I've been there, done that without, you know, seeing how sad things can be. You know, it's like, you can't, otherwise that's just like a regular episode.
Right.
Like, I love that this show.
Those moments so precious.
Yeah, it just going everywhere only makes everything much more rich in terms of storytelling and the world for the characters. So anyway, I feel like that whole thing was a good way to show like the place that we are coming from in terms of our feelings for the stuff that happens in the episode.
Yeah.
We're eating it up with a spoon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So 311 Maternal Instincts, written by Chris Mannheim and directed by Mark Beasley.
So this is a big assignment for Chris.
Yeah, we were kind of like shocked that she wrote it.
Knowing stuff that she writes later, I love when she does the family drama stuff. That's my fave.
That's true. And this episode has a lot of family drama. And in some ways, that's what it is. Yeah. Family tragedy.
Yeah. So you have Hope here, and you'll have Chris writing it up later with also Hope again.
Hope. Yeah. Yep. She's our go-to Hope girl.
But she dies here.
And Mark Beasley's previous directorial credit was on A Necessary Evil, which also had Callisto. So he's becoming our goddess Callisto fight guy. And he does a great job with that here again.
Yep. So this episode begins with Xena and Gabrielle returning to the Centaur village. Yeah.
Yes.
That's where.
Yeah. It never has a name. It's just I think Kaleipus's village, right? Yep. He runs it. He's the boss.
Mm-hmm. And Xena's been counting how long it's been since the last time she was there, which was really a nice touch.
Yeah, right down to the day.
Poor Xena.
1 year, 2 months, 12 days.
Do you guys remember that last shot from Orphan of War where she walks away from Solon? I mean, so devastating, her walk.
Ooh, now I wish they kind of shot it to mirror that of her walking away from Solon.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit!
Yeah.
That is going to be a great gift set.
I thought that was really sweet and unexpected in a way.
Yeah, and Solon reunites with Xena in the same way as Orphan of War.
And of course, we have Gabrielle starting to react to seeing Xena with her son.
Yeah, he jumps out of the tree, right? Like how he did in Orphan of War. But this time he knows exactly who he's jumping on. And
and it's so playful. Yeah, she's really like, sweet. Selling, you dirty rat. Yeah. And she gives him a noogie.
Yes.
And it's just so markedly different from her behavior with him in Orphan of War, where she was so awkward, didn't really know how to react. Like, it was the first time she'd seen him since she gave him away. And you feel here there's a much higher comfort level, even if obviously...
they ended it real, in a good place.
Orphan of War, like, there's the whole... You see her go through a journey in that episode. There's a whole part where he gets injured... And she's very sweet. And there's, so...
She sets his arm and puts him in pain and then gives him this hug. She sort of was allowed to try on the role of being a mother there. And you feel like it's beginning to fit her a little better here in this episode. She's like...
Is she developing some maternal instinct?
Oh. Maybe.
This is where we talk about maternal
instinct? Sure, why not? I don't know. It came up.
There are a lot of moms in this episode.
A lot of moms in this episode.
Yeah. Moms galore. Not only is there Xena, there's Gabrielle, the secret mom, and Effie, who appears, and her little kid, Xena.
Yep. Remember how he's half horse, half child? Who came out of her vagina somehow?
Who could forget? He didn't.
He didn't. Oh, right. Sorry.
Because he's a horse.
Jeez.
So.
I don't remember her deciding to name him after Xena.
That happened in
Doctor.
Yeah, because she, helped out.
Yeah, she delivered him. Yeah. She did a good job.
Miracle birth.
Well, that'll keep coming up, maternal instinct.
Yeah. We will keep returning. This episode wears its theme on its sleeve.
Yeah. I would maybe say, like, sometimes it goes a little too much on its sleeve, but...
It's like a sleeve tattoo.
Here's the nuanced part of it is Gabrielle's face.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This was great.
Because after our 3 episodes of comedy...
Yeah.
You actually...
didn't feel anything.
Now you see her...
remember that she had a child.
Was raped and had a child.
Yeah, remember this?
And she just makes such a sad face.
She makes the sad face because Kaleipus rides up and is like, we're having this festival to celebrate this treaty that they're signing with, I guess, another centaur village. Yeah. We're celebrating the legacy. We're leaving our children a legacy of peace and wait for it, hope. And I feel like Gabrielle just has such a
trigger word,
twitch.
She actually
hope.
She actually reacts before that, but this is a second.
You can see that she's tender. That she, she's not immediately goofing off with Sullen. In a way, it's really nice to see that the awkward person here is Gabs. Yeah. And Xena's like, "Hey, Sullen, what's up? Noogie time." And Gabs is kind of hanging back. In a way, she's become the Orphan of War Xena here, where she's like, I don't quite know what I should do. I feel really sad.
She has to psych herself up to kind of play with him.
Yeah, to be that kind of big sister that she was being to him the first time around.
They do a race and she cheats.
What? I didn't know this was cheating.
Well, he's like, hey, that's cheating. That is a consistent character trait for her when she does races.
She's that kid who creates the game and then cheats at it.
She's usually racing Xena, so...
I like the detail that Sullen now fights with a staff, just like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Xena and Gabrielle influenced him there. He's become kind of like their kid. He has Xena's tracking skills, and he fights with the staff like Gabs. He's a combination of both parents.
Just rub it in.
Yep. I'm just gonna go there, you guys. Twist the knife.
Put the salt in.
Twist it.
All right, so now we have this very strange girl who's playing some basketball.
She is actually playing with a basketball. That does not look like an ancient Greek toy.
By a cliff with that weird rope bridge, and the ball goes down the crevice of the cliff and crevasse. And going...
Crevasse.
What?
It's a funny word.
it going into the weird like cave creates an earthquake and out pops Callisto.
This is confusing.
So I guess we were like, oh, this was the lava pit where she and Velasco fell into, but it's like lava-less now. And oh my God, she's back.
Well, yay, Callisto's back. It's just very confusing how it happened.
Yeah, like this ball is enough to just disrupt the weird faults and rocks. And, okay.
We're supposed to be like, oh, it's an accident.
Right. Like this innocent child.
Right.
We don't,
She's
just
flying over.
Throws a ball.
I have questions about Hope and her powers and stuff. They'll come up.
Yeah. This
They
reminded
start
me of
immediately.
like, you know, when you throw the ball at the target at the carnival, like Hope does that and she wins a Callisto. So that's nice.
Did you have questions about Hope? Or is
No,
this...
I just find the whole situation confusing. Like, why does her dropping the basketball in? Why does she appear?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where because the episode is working overtime to like fake you out and make you think that this is just an innocent little girl caught up in Callisto's evil plans. It's not actually answering any of the questions of what exactly Hope is doing and how she brought this stuff about. So you just kind of have to like fill in the lines as best you can. We assume that she like tracked down this crevasse and figured out via her magic powers like where to put pressure to release the beast.
Is this the, like, if you're sitting there watching it, does your first thought go, oh my God, it's Hope? Or like, do you believe that this is a weird little girl?
Maybe for like a half second you believe it's a weird little girl because you're like, they would never give Hope such stupid hair.
Oh my God, can we talk about the hair?
Well, last we saw Hope, she's a baby.
That's
Yeah,
We
true.
know
right.
she became a slightly bigger baby,
Real fast.
but this is a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
She's got dumb hair.
It's an unfortunate wig.
Yep. I think that's my least favorite part of this episode is her hair.
Hope's hair. Yeah, it's awkward. It just looks strange.
Yeah. I
But
just wish
she's
it
wearing
was
a
better.
sackcloth thing that is very reminiscent of baby Hope's garb.
So she never found new clothes?
I think she just keeps getting them in that style. That's what she's used to.
Wow. Yeah, you guys know how I feel about really dumb, teased out, terrible hair on this program.
So Callisto, in this shot in front of a green screen, like is like stretching, being like, good nap. I'm a god. There's like fire behind her, which is great. As we've said 1,000 times at this point, that's her element, and it's all over
That's
the
her
place
power.
with her. Yeah, it's really become her power, which is great to see this elemental ability. Like Callisto can scream and like fire explodes. Like that is such a powerful image. But here she is looking at little collapsed Fela, I guess we'll call her that for now, who's like cross-eyed and passed out.
Oh my God.
In, like, kind of a comedy way.
Why did she do that?
Just to fake us out.
Like,
just to make us think she's...
Does she know that there's an audience watching
She
her?
doesn't. That's why it's maybe weird.
It's weird. It's totally weird. It's just for our benefit. It's just so that we don't immediately look at this little girl and say, Hope. But Callisto looks at her and says, I always wanted a child.
That is...
Is it a joke, or is that in some sense a serious feeling?
That is literally because she's in an episode called Maternal Instincts. There's no zero that's a real thought that she's ever had.
Did you feel like it would have been a real thought that she maybe had when she was 8 or 9 that then got wiped out
Yeah,
by all other thoughts?
The previous time she discussed these matters was
If you were 8, were you sitting around being like, can't wait till I have children?
Some people are, sure.
No way.
Oh yeah, they're
I
people.
feel like little girls...
you know, with their baby dolls. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Are
have
maternal
those.
instincts real or socially constructed?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it both?
It's always both.
It's always both. It's always both.
But the previous time Callisto discussed these matters was in Return of Callisto, where she has that line about love being nature's trick to get us to reproduce, which
Okay.
to me seemed kind of dismissive not only of love, but also of
Yes.
reproduction.
Uh-huh. Okay, so Chris Mannheim was a little hesitant about writing Callisto's was her first time.
Well, I wonder if it's meant to be ironic. Callisto, on some level, knows what episode she's in.
That's what I said. I was like, she's only saying this
the major female character in the episode who doesn't have children and sees this little girl and, says, I always wanted to have a child in a way that makes you think she's going to, like, take her and torture her, eat her, or something, you know?
It's unnerving.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be, like, nervous for this crazy-haired little weirdo.
So at this point, I mean, I feel like with everything Callisto says, you always want to take it a little bit seriously because she tends to be a character like that. But yeah, it is odd considering everything that we've seen of her. She doesn't seem like the maternal sort.
Yeah, because I think that line that you just referenced about Love's Trick, I think that's the legitimate Callisto. It's my Callisto.
Yeah, absolutely. She doesn't really believe in human connection anymore, so that would go for children as well. But she is not averse to exploiting it to achieve her ends.
All right, so back in the village, Solon enters the hut and someone
just grabs his
face. Yeah, and it's horrifying. Oh no, he's in danger.
Already. It didn't take long.
Yeah, but yeah.
Surprise,
exactly.
It's Stephanie doing like a surprise party, I guess, for Xena. Yeah.
That's sweet.
But so unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary.
Question, why is Stephanie here?
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out.
No reason.
She is kind of an honorary centaur.
What? Oh, because of her kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it's her husband's centaur
it's his
tribe that's signing
I like
that treaty.
This. I allow this.
And she obviously wants little Xenon to like have a connection to the centaur side of the family. Okay. So makes sense she'd bring him here.
Right.
Thank you.
He's dead. Her husband.
But yeah, I mean, I'm always a little confused by like Ephanie's journey. Like, it seemed like, when she first had Xena that she was thrown out of the Amazons, but then she clearly came back because she was there the previous time we visited them. And now she seems sort of independent again, though it may just be a brief, a trip over here.
I think Xena lives here, and that's why she's there.
No.
I feel like he was like that little horsey boy who was playing soccer in the wide shot of in the Orphan of War.
Little horsey boy.
So so that makes sense. If he lives here and she's like off with the Amazons, she would visit him once in a while.
So
oh no, sorry. I'm getting in the weeds. I was like, how old would he be in Orphan of War?
I don't know.
He was just born.
A year younger. Yeah, I think they definitely skew. He grows fast too.
Yeah. We don't know the centaur life cycle, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Goodness.
Good point.
So we should all take note of Xenon's little toy wolf that he has named Lucas.
Yeah, that's such a cute name for a little toy.
Yeah, little toy Lucas. Shaped like a wolf, made by Centocles.
Yes.
From Solstice Carol.
I think we didn't need any kind of explanation, like, verbally of this. I think you can see that toy and you go, oh, I bet Centocles made that as an audience member.
Well, and we are going to get the toy that we know was made by Centocles.
Exactly. Well, he's supposed to, make you think of that toy. So.
I mean, this episode, and I think this is very much a product of the fear of serialized storytelling, does a lot of exposition. Yeah. Like, it reminds you about hope. We're about to get to that scene in a second. It fills you in on all the various branches of the story that you need to be familiar with in order to really get this episode. And it's quite a few. It's not just the Deliverer and Gabrielle's Hope. It's also Orphan of Lore and also a Solstice Carol.
Is there a doctor in the house?
Is there a doctor in the house?
I totally agree with what you're saying. I wouldn't really call it like a fear of serialized storytelling so much as it's just like, if you're a big fan of Xena, you'd tape it. But if you're just watching it, like most people, it's like
this is the first episode you see.
Maybe there's one rerun, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So if
it's
you
reminding you of stuff you've watched a year ago or more.
A year ago or more, or that you didn't even see. Like if you haven't seen a Solstice Carol, like a line like, this is this thing that Centocles made. Like, wow, it's just like, just a little bit extra for if you might not have seen it. So on the one hand, we're not used to that anymore.
Well, we're no longer used to it. Yeah,
but
exactly.
Like on the other hand, it was almost a necessity.
It was very standard for 90s television. Like all shows did it. Seeing something now, you're just so like, oh, come on, think of your core audience. We know these things.
But honestly, some of it, I think this episode does a great job in delivering the exposition in a way that feels very true to the characters and actually creates
that's the
more
way to do it
feeling.
good.
So the scene that we're about to talk about between Effie and Gabrielle, where Gabrielle tells Effie about everything she went through in Deliverer and Gabrielle's Hope, I found it very moving, to have, these two women kind of sharing their life experiences, even if Gabrielle isn't being totally honest. Like the fact that they have this conversation where I think Effie comes away from it thinking either that Gabrielle's child died like in crib death, or that it was a miscarriage. I'm not exactly.
No, it was because she said sleep.
Yeah,
Sleep
I wasn't sure if that
kid.
was how metaphorical that was.
Yeah. I love the scene because I want to say this is like the first time Gabrielle like actually talked to someone about it. Because I'm sure she doesn't talk to Xena about this shit.
Yeah, no.
So like it was really amazing and refreshing to see. And everything she said was true. Like she didn't put in the details, but everything she said was like true to her feelings, right? So it's only that Effie assumed that the kid died, in the sleep.
And I don't know, how often do you see this on TV? Like two women talking about like the death of a child and it being just
mostly two women talk about a man.
Yeah.
That's this one passes the test.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought this was just a really nice way of showing how close Effie and Gabrielle are, that they can have a conversation like this.
It was
the fact that you felt like Gabrielle is so, especially after seeing Xena with Solon and Effie with Xenon, like Gabrielle wants to be treated like she's a mother too. Like this was an important experience for her. And I feel like with Xena, she has to kind of pretend it never happened, And like here with Effie, she can be like, no, I'm like you. I've had this experience. Like, yeah. I feel that there's something validating about the fact that Gabrielle can say these things to Effie and be given consoling advice.
Yeah, and you just want Gabrielle to be able to talk to someone, and that's like we assume that they don't talk about it because it's such a heavy subject between her and Xena, but like she really needed to do it, and so it was like really cathartic.
Yeah, almost. I mean, and we know that we've seen them talk more about her blood innocence and killing and stuff that she feels like she could talk to Xena about, but this stuff she's kept it in.
Yeah.
Until now.
I also, I noticed as I was reading fan responses to this episode that quite a few people seem to be annoyed with Effie's treatment in the episode because she doesn't really get to do very much. They called her like the babysitter. She's there with the kids. But I felt this scene, like, showed a lot of emotional strength. Like, this is someone who's been through some shit and can give Gabrielle, like, that really important shoulder to cry on and just emotional support. I mean, they're all kinds of badass ladyhood. Like, Effie can be awesome without, like, picking up a sword and fighting Callisto. Like, to me, this was an actually really important Effie scene to see and a great illustration of Amazonian sisterhood.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. It would have been also great if she did
picked up a sword and fought
sword fighting. Just some active participating of a badass Amazon.
Why not both?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not both?
I mean, that's honestly that's what you do want
Yeah.
from any character ever, which
but
is
it
like
seems important to me that like Effie isn't passive here. Like she is important in her own way.
Exactly.
Was she necessary to include in the story at all? I don't think she was, but the scene was great.
I'm certainly glad she's here.
Yeah, I mean for continuity it's great, and you do have this sense of the extended family of Xena that Effie would absolutely be in. Effie and Xenon, Solon and Kaleipus. You have these parents and children, like these various combinations. So I think it does kind of enrich in the fabric of the episode that you have all these different mothers. Yeah.
Oh, and I do think also having Xena here becomes important later in the episode, which obviously she would be here as well. Xena knows immediately that Callisto is back because Callisto burned some shit.
She knows fire is her element. I mean, she like goes up and just like burns like the pretty decorations for their treaty party. It's such a petty move. So Xena sees that and is like, who else would do something?
Like that is a crazy jump,
right? Yeah. She said that she thought later her suspicions were proven. I think it's consistent with how she like can sense like when Ares is there. So she has like this sense of gods.
And Callisto's a god.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She just smells like burning.
She smells what the rock is cooking.
Yeah. I should note that around here, Gabrielle and Xena split off. You have Xena investigating Callisto, and you have Gabrielle kind of hanging out back in the village, and they're not going to meet again until almost the end of the episode. To me, it feels very significant that just circumstantially Xena and Gabrielle have been physically separated.
Yeah, and it's never good when that happens.
Never good.
They have to be joined at all times.
So yeah, we have Gabrielle on her own. I think she's just in like the hotel room. She's like washing her face in this little hut. I assume it's where they're staying while they're here in the village.
Yes.
and Fela comes in.
Right.
I really like the detail, though, that the scene begins with Gabrielle washing her face, which to me felt like you don't often see the characters do something like that.
Mundane thing.
Yeah,
Is
mundane
it because then you want her to wash Fela's face?
Fela's pretty dirty.
Dirty as
She's
food.
a dirty little girl.
Yeah. So she's asking Fela, that is asking for Xena, because the monster lady wants Xena.
I like that Callisto is referred to as the monster lady. The monstrous feminine, we've talked about that before, and that feels like a very relevant concept to this episode. And Medea, who I referenced earlier, is like the ultimate in monstrous women of antiquity. So, yeah, monster ladies.
She says she knows her little secret, that Callisto knows it.
How does she know it?
I don't know. Can you answer this for me?
I have referenced that I have many questions about hope. Here's one.
Yeah, because
how does she know?
Callisto knows because Hope told her.
Right.
So presumably the question is actually, how does Hope know?
Is it some kind of all-knowing evil?
She definitely
like,
seems a bit omniscient here. She really knows Gabrielle really well. She always knows exactly what to say. She plays Gabrielle like a fiddle. It's a little unclear where that knowledge comes from, but
she also has all her memories from all of the episodes
way back
where
to
she was
being a baby.
Yeah, so I mean,
and part of that too. Is that how much of that is real?
But so much of it is
we'll
real.
Debate that.
Yeah, we can debate.
We saw it.
I know. Well, we saw her in the basket, but nothing else.
Yeah, but she talks about that, and you as an audience member go, how the fuck does she know this? Nobody was there but her as a baby.
Well,
and
she
Gabrielle.
turned into this 12-year-old and like sunk in the basket and was like, what just happened?
I tend to subscribe to a version of the Xena theory about Hope, which is that she's this vessel, who only looks like a child, but really has an adult intelligence. And I think that may be true of her even back to being a baby, in which case she
when she strangled the dude.
Yeah,
so
she's an adult.
Was yes. Yeah. Okay, I like this too.
Yeah.
Because Xena's
trapped in the body of a baby.
Yeah, with terrible hair.
Strange.
The baby had nice hair.
Yeah, the baby had nice hair.
The full message from Callisto is a great play on words that is scary.
Callisto loves puns, which is one of the reasons I love Callisto.
He said, she knows your little secret and she's going to take it to the grave.
Dun, dun, dun.
Get it?
Get it.
But does Callisto know this when she said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hope tells Callisto, and Callisto
this
does
could
the
also
pun.
just be like Hope doing it.
Yes, is Hope really into puns?
That pun sounds totally like a Callisto thing. I mean, maybe Hope is just so next level that she can like make Callisto puns to be that much more convincing.
Hope is the one who comes up with the plan.
Yeah,
to kill the kids.
It's all Hope. Hope is the evil mastermind here. Callisto is just doing her bidding, which I don't know. Like, if you're a Callisto fan, you may find that a little bit frustrating that Callisto's taking orders in this episode
from a child.
From a child with bad hair.
I think that pun belongs to Hope.
You think Hope's a punster?
She's totally a punster.
Little punster.
Little punk and a punster.
The scene where, it's revealed here that Fela's in charge during this, like, weirdly violent hairbrushing scene.
I loved this so much.
You just wanted to fix that wig so badly.
I wanted her to fix the wig and make it be normal hair. So Callisto starts imagining Xena's pain or whatever and brushing her hair, like, insanely. Like, you could hear the hairbrush hitting the scalp, kind of, like, real intense. Yeah. Hope is like, ow! So she makes her stop, and then my favorite part is how she then proceeds to fix back the terrible wig.
Twirling it around.
Like, put it back the way it was.
So she, like, throws the hairbrush, I think, across the room with her telekinetic powers, which is how we are told she has telekinetic powers.
Yeah.
Which is how we're like, oh my god.
And her telekinetic powers are weird because she seems to be not able to, like, fully use them in a way that, like, they really, like, fuck her up when she starts using them.
Yeah, she's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
It's like how when they became gods, they couldn't really do all the cool stuff.
You need to recharge your god batteries. Okay?
Yes, yes. So like she telekinetically threw that basketball down there so hard that it like freaked Callisto. So that's why she crossed her eyes and fell backwards. Yes. There we go.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Comically.
We fixed it.
That's what it is.
Well, tell yourself that.
Yes. So she needs Callisto to
that's
protect her whenever she's too weak after using her telekinetic powers. That's why those two are a team.
Also because they have the same goal in mind, to crush Xena's soul.
Right.
Which, as you recall, is what Callisto said all the way back in Return of Callisto. That was what she was going to do. Kill Xena's soul. She has no interest in killing Xena, but she wants to destroy the people who are beloved of Xena. So,
yes, she wanted to hear her wail over the dead body of
right,
Gabrielle.
of your friend. Yeah, so this has always been Callisto's endgame, and here finally she's found someone who can really help her do it. So even though Hope is clearly in charge in this little like evil cabal, I would say that Callisto is in many ways pulling the strings just purely because like she wants this drama. It's in some ways more in her best interests than in Hope's. It's a little unclear why Hope is so set on killing Xena.
Another question that I had. Is there stuff we don't know about Dayhawk from Hercules at this point at all?
Not yet.
It's not about
I think that's
Dayhawk.
going to start in a little bit on Hercules.
So it's just sort of like Xena's a pain in the ass. Everybody needs to go after Xena first.
And
and then he can take over the world, because as long as Xena's here.
Xena was there drop kicking the deliverer.
Killed the deliverer.
That wasn't cool. I doubt Dayhawk like that.
So I believe that she definitely has a clear motivation, and it's certainly a motivation that goes through something like a family affair. So I'm not sure if this is like just a Chris Mannheim thing for her or what, but the good thing about someone like Hope is that it has a very clear and like petty human motivation, despite the fact that she's half Dayhawk fire or whatever. So she hates Xena because Xena took her mother away from her, basically.
Yeah, okay.
So like, if she's an adult in a child's body, all the way in Gabrielle's Hope, she hears how Xena is running after them, being like, "We gotta kill her!"
Right.
And makes her put her in the basket and all that stuff. So that's why she hates Xena. So I like it because I can understand that.
Yeah, I agree. Giving Hope a human motivation. And I think that's part of what's interesting about the scenes between Hope and Gabrielle, where Hope is sort of behaving like a child and like someone who needs Gabrielle's love and protection. And you wonder if there's some seed of that that's true.
That's why whenever she has conversations with Gabrielle, I want to believe that part of that stuff that she's saying is true, because I want to relate to that, you know, human part of her, the Gabrielle part.
Yeah.
That just wanted her mother, and you can put a very sharp pin in that for a future episode.
Sure. Yeah, I think that is really great, that reading, because it does make her a little less unambiguously
anything
evil.
That's like, anything that's pure evil is just boring.
And I do feel like the show represents Hope as this vessel for evil completely, and it would be great if it would just leaned a little bit more towards you really question it. Yeah. Might have been a little more dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think if we were to remake this plotline, that would be the main thing I'd want to change, is giving Hope a little more ambiguity.
Right, because at this point you're supposed to be like, well, would she have been different if she had been with Gabrielle the whole time? And of course that's an interesting question to ponder, and we'll never know, because we don't see that happen, obviously.
But like the way it comes across in the show, you're like, no way, she's like...
Right, exactly. It's
she's like that Omen kid.
Yeah, even if we did, the good stuff.
But yeah, if there had been a little more, like if you felt that some of her evil was down to the way she'd been treated, you know, separated from her mother, left alone, like then there would be this... It would just compound the delicious pain of the situation, because, you know, Xena was convinced she was evil and took these steps that led to her being left alone and maybe becoming evil. So that would have been so juicy if they'd kind of pushed that a little more.
And I would have loved to have scenes in this episode between Hope and Gabrielle, that was her doing the hairbrushing and washing the face, like legitimately, to sort of mirror what we saw in the debt with Xena and Lao Ma, because she's like a little feral kid right now, and you wanted to see like the gentleness of Gabrielle sort of mothering, if we're just getting rid of that wig for me.
cutting out all the parts where gum was stuck in it.
Bring some no more tangles.
But in general, yeah, that's something that was clearly missing for me personally. But that would have had another moment where maybe you could have reached a level where their conversation was more legitimate. Like, is Hope saying correct, true things in a longer scene between the two of them?
Yeah, it seems like Hope at this point is so impervious to influence, like that, in moments when Gabrielle says, I could change her the way I changed Xena, you just don't believe it. It just seems a little delusional.
And she only visits Gabrielle in order to
deliver
a manipulative statement to progress her plot.
Yeah.
Like, I would have wanted just like a genuine, like she wanted to spend
those
time.
Hugs. Yeah. And she might want them. I mean, they do happen. It's a little, I prefer to read the scenes in a way where there's something true there in those moments where she gets love and affection from Gabrielle. She didn't have to play things in quite this way. She could have kept her identity a secret the entire time. In some ways, it would have been in her best interest to do so, because then Gabrielle would be like, oh, poor innocent Phala, let's send her to a safe place.
To the caves!
Instead, Hope is like, oh, hey, Mommy, I'm Hope, your maybe evil child. And
right.
And Gabrielle's like, okay, I'll still send you to the safe place.
To the caves!
So yeah, back to the scene that we're on now. It's actually one between Xena and Solon. And it is there. It's exactly what you're talking about, Vera. Yeah. Giving Xena this moment of semi-maternal sweetness, secretly maternal sweetness, since she still can't revel to Solon that she's his
so
mom.
Close.
She's so close. You could tell that she, like, with just the littlest push, it would come out. Like, she's ready.
Is this where she's like, you can travel with us?
No, here she's just convincing him to hide, because he's
oh, right.
a
He's
teenager.
like, this is like for babies.
His voice is almost breaking. Like, this is like a pretty grown up kid. He's cute, but he's like, you feel like he could handle himself. He's becoming old enough where like these issues are more pressing. Like, he could be a warrior soon. So I feel like it's important that Xena kind of reminds him, like, no, you have to make the people who love you happy sometimes, even if it's not what you want to do.
So Xena convinces him to hide in the caves. They made a little deal. It's cute. And she also convinced him that Kaleipus is basically his dad and loves him. And that's
true. That's really important.
Yeah.
And, that, again, hard thing for Xena to do. There's always been a lot of tension between her and Kaleipus, who's the rightful parent of this child. Like, Kaleipus obviously feels very threatened by Xena's presence. So for her to reinforce this idea of, no, like, Kaleipus is your parent, respect him.
Gabrielle walks into Phala / Hope and, like, bumps into her. Mm-hmm. And the lamb toy falls out, like, from her. Where is she storing that?
I'm sure on purpose. So I was probably just in her hand ready to follow her.
Yeah, she's like,
oh, great.
Whoops. So Gabs takes one look at this little lamb toy and knows exactly who this is.
I love this little lamb toy keeps coming back.
It's well done.
Yeah, and it's become a very interestingly symbolic thing. Where, remember what you said in the beginning?
Yes, that the lamb is a symbol for Jesus, and that was in Solstice Carol, which, was in some ways a nativity story. Mm-hmm. So having Gabrielle with this innocent little lamb toy felt important, and then she gives it to Hope, which I thought had a level of irony to it, that to see the Antichrist playing with the Jesus symbol.
Yeah. We have our Centicles toys, wolf versus lamb.
Right, yeah, Xena has the wolf.
Oh, man.
And Hope now is presenting herself as kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. So.
Yeah. Gabrielle has to go do something because she's involved with Xena's plot, but she really doesn't want to do it because she just wants to now reconnect with Hope. So she's like, can you wait in the tent? I gotta go do something. She literally says that.
She makes no indication that it's bizarre that Hope is like 12.
Yeah.
She's been grew from newborn to like 2-year-old.
Slightly larger baby. That baby was like go from
2.
baby you can hold to like
12-year-old
a
child.
teen.
It's been a while.
She should be stressed about college because that's going to be next week. But yeah, I mean, she's always like, I felt that in Gabrielle's Hope too. Like, Xena is really weirded out, and Gabrielle's like, you know, demigod, whatever. I love her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where Hope gives Gabrielle a version of her story about being alone on the river, adopted by mean people.
Oh no!
I forget. What did she say?
Were they mean?
I don't know. Maybe
I thought they weren't.
Maybe they were nice people.
Yeah, it didn't strike me as mean.
Yeah, I don't think that.
But definitely
she was
a
like
guilt trip about her
Yeah.
mommy giving her up and how upsetting that was for her growing
If any
up.
of this is even true, right? How much of it is true and how much of it is a manipulative lie?
What if it's all true, but
Dunno.
it comes out manipulatively because
Like
of
she's
her
certainly.
voice?
It's been. Here's the thing. It's been a couple of months, a few months since Britannia, according to Gabrielle. So, you know, she's making it sound like she's raised by these people, which she clearly wasn't. It's been a few months.
She probably has just been going around killing people who come across her. Let's be real.
Yes.
There was no family who raised her even for...
There may have
I'm
been
sure
people
there were
who
people who found her, gave her like you know
Food.
food
for like a week.
Been
Yeah.
like, honey, maybe you should cut your hair.
And
no.
she's like, fuck that, murders you. Yeah.
A little conditioner, honey.
Stab.
In any case, she does a very good job about making Gabrielle feel terrible.
Yes. And then she's a little bitch once Gabrielle leaves.
Oh yeah, she's like, bye-bye, mommy.
Ugh.
Fuck you, Hope.
Yeah.
Also, every shot in this scene was out of focus.
Oh,
Every
yes.
single one.
It was a little bit of a bummer.
What
I have
happened?
never really noticed it. Like, I know that old shows definitely have this problem. Like, once in a while it is out of focus. And famously, we know that A Friend in Need had some focus issues. But this was so ridiculous.
I mean, that's crazy to me. I can't believe there was a time before instantaneous playback on a monitor right
Gotta
there
wait for
on
those
set.
dailies.
Like, yeah. I mean, I think it kind of works here in that, you know, like, a mother and her child, you know, the world softens. You feel like the show.
Make it work.
Write an essay about it.
Make it work.
You feel like they're in some, you know, like Gabrielle isn't seeing clearly.
Good one.
I think it's all from the little lamb toys perspective.
Listen, once it's on the screen, it's open for interpretation.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
yeah. I love Renee in this scene when they hug. There's just this look on her face. It's just like, I don't know what it is. Relief, maybe?
I mean,
Like,
I think she's,
happiness?
you know, she's missed her so
Yeah.
much. She's happy, you know, she doesn't really question why she's coming back to her at this moment. She's just so grateful that she has. Yeah.
And that she, I think in this moment feels that she was right. And Hope is a perfectly normal
But
child.
also that she survived.
Yeah, and that
like
she
when she sent her
survived.
down the river, she
Yeah.
could have been dead from whatever reason. But here she is alive, and she's
And
very
normal.
grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please
sure.
be-
She looks
please
very
be
normal.
Good.
Yes,
her
yes,
prayer.
exactly.
So
Yeah, please be good.
to her eyes, that prayer has come true.
Oh.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Xena is leading a hooded figure who's
Solon.
meant to be Solon.
It is Solon.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Callisto attacks them.
Is she still wearing the headband Vera doesn't like?
I think
Who,
so.
Callisto? Oh,
Xena's
Xena, she
wearing
wears
it
it the
through
entire
the
time.
entire
I
episode.
don't like
Why
her.
do you hate that headband
Because
so much?
that, like, are we supposed to assume that that's just an intricate braid that they did that morning?
No, it's a headband.
So why does she have a headband that looks like hair braided?
Because she's like, wow, look at this, Gabrielle. They're in the market square. She's buying it. She's like, I can put this on and everyone will think I've braided my hair. I'm lazy.
Only if we had literally that scene would I accept this headband. Otherwise, it is not my favorite look of hers.
I just meant we need to comment on all the important things.
Of course, this
So-
is like maybe more important than what happens later.
Xena's wearing a
is her
lot of
headband.
makeup this episode.
Ooh, I did not notice this.
Yeah, I felt particularly there was like a lot of like contouring that was happening.
Ooh,
Yeah,
intriguing.
I don't know why.
I liked Ephanie's hair,
Ebony's hair is amazing.
and I like Xenon's hair.
They match.
They match.
It's really cute.
Good hair matching.
But he has like the centaur hair. Like that's very
I
specific.
know, he got it from his dad.
so
Centaur
great.
hair
But it
from
looks
dad.
like her, like his mom's
Curls
hair.
from mom.
So good. I love it. Well, anyway, Callisto attacks, and surprise, it's not Solon, and it's Gabrielle. And this is literally what she had to do, right? She was like, ooh, I gotta go do something.
I don't really want to do it, but I gotta go pretend to be Xena's kid so that Callisto can try to barbecue me.
She does have a good lineup in there with all that fire.
Oh yeah, her warm welcome. Ba-dum-bum. I'm telling you, Callisto and puns OTP. It is always good value.
What do you like more, Callisto's puns or Xena's lines?
Puns all the way, baby. Puns beat lines. So when they fight and Callisto does a pun and Xena does a line, like it always falls flat. You're like, no, Xena, don't even try.
Not when the queen is at work.
She also has a good one where she's like, I came here to meet your precious little son, flesh of your flesh, bone of your bone, blood of your blood. Can't wait to see all that.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah.
So good.
Like, really scary and gross.
Mm-hmm. Really gross.
I mean, that's the thing. This episode does prepare you for the child death.
Yeah, this is the second time.
Absolutely scary threats to Solon's life. And that moment early on where he's grabbed from behind by Effany for no reason. But, you feel the threat. It's very present. This is not a left field thing that happens. You just... I think when I saw it the first time, even though I saw that that's where it was going, I was like, it's just so in denial.
Well, you sort of feel like, oh, they're hinting at it, they're doing these things, but they won't do it. They're going to make you think they may do it, but nah.
They can't.
Because we have so many times shows do like a fake threat.
Yeah, of course.
So many times.
That's good drama. Yeah. And, they don't want to go all the way with it because people are scared. People are scared to do that because then you have to deal with it for episode after episode after episode. Whereas here you can just have the, immediate thrill of, ooh, threat to a child. But don't worry, everything's going to be fine and we're going to forget this ever happened. How do you guys feel about Callisto as a god here? I think she's very scary.
Here or like in general?
In general is a larger question where I have some critical feelings about it.
Here, great.
But here I think it's really great. Yeah. And especially now that we've said, like, fire has become her thing.
Yeah.
And I love, all her things about, you barbecued my family, now it's my turn.
Yeah.
The fact that she is this just, like, vengeance force, I think is so perfect for her character. Like, this is who and what she is. She is that avenging fireball.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's our little Callisto.
I like it, I guess. Yeah.
I like it, I guess.
I was just trying to think, like, I liked when she became immortal. Like, I thought that was a interesting next step. I mean, she's doing next steps always, so that's why
she always wants one thing better. Like,
so she leveled up.
She has her pain. She's looking for ways of assuaging it.
It's just really hard when you have any kind of gods because
they're untouchable.
They're untouchable and they can do anything. And she should just be able to like.
She should barbecue Xena and Gabrielle.
She shouldn't ever be really stopped. So that like they run into their own problems, or like mostly she ends up under rocks.
Yeah, I saw complaints about that a lot, but I find it one of the more forgivable things because at the end of the day, you kind of do understand that like. That's boring. You can't just have gods showing up and just wiping them out. There's
also,
no show.
I feel like she doesn't really, like, she wants to kind of fuck with them.
Yes.
But she doesn't want to, like, finish the job in 2 seconds.
No, that's no
she
fun
can.
for her.
Like, so you give it that. Like,
but
that's
also,
what's happening.
like, divinity in ancient Greek mythology, the gods, come down to her earth and screw around and, like, get drunk. And, like, they're very fallible creatures,
But she's not from Olympus. She's from the other side of the tracks.
She's new to this.
Yeah, so to me, even more so, she is so human and she makes plenty of mistakes. And she even says, like, I can't be in 2 places at once, which, some gods can do that. So, yeah, I feel like her powers are very carefully limited. And at least in this episode, it strikes a good balance of, like, keeping her contained so that she still, like, can be fought against while also giving her a lot of power and making her scary.
So back in the caves, Kaleipus runs into Hope.
Yeah, he's going there, I think, to make sure Solon's okay, Kaleipus, rather. Yeah. And Hope, of course, has... Well, no, she hasn't been sent to the caves.
She's, like, recharging.
I don't know, yeah. He runs into her.
Yeah.
She may be looking for him. I think she's looking for Solon.
Okay, all right, yeah. She recharges after she has to stab him with her telekinesis.
Yeah, for some reason, these caves have swords just, like, hanging on the walls, and she uses her telekinesis to...
Is it the caves of Ixion, or no? Because Xena mentions it.
Oh, it could be.
I don't know.
That would be nice
they have
continuity.
Swords hanging out in them?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Give it a... She definitely mentions it.
Yeah. Okay. I accept that explanation because that's just some nice. Yeah. We remember that those are right by the village, so of course that would be a good place to hide out. This scene where Kaleipus died was rough. This is his second episode on Xena. It's sad to see this character go. I was a little sad by it.
You mean like the next scene when they find him?
I guess so. At the moment that actually brought it home to me was this shot of Callisto stepping over the bloody sword. It happens a little later in the episode. You see the sword just like completely coated with blood, and Callisto just steps over it in this really casual way. Like, to me, there was just something so cruel about that. It was this image of such violence, and she just doesn't even notice.
I thought it was really fascinating that, he was stabbed in the caves, but they find him in the forest.
Right.
He
crawled out.
Can you crawl if you're a centaur?
Dragging himself somehow.
I don't know.
But rule number 1, don't ask questions.
About centaurs?
Yeah. That is rule number 1.
But because he's a centaur, I feel like I really felt for that scene because it was like animal death almost. You know, it was.
It's true.
Yeah, it was really it was shocking. Yeah. So I didn't care about the man part being dead, but the horse part.
The horse butt.
The horse butt?
Yeah.
No, but it was
not the horse butt.
It was very sad.
It was sad. Yeah.
Just because he was bleeding out and stuff and dragging himself there.
He tries to tell Xena who killed him, and he doesn't really get the point across, unfortunately. Yeah. He says the child, and I guess she thinks that means, I don't know what she thinks that means, to be honest.
Well, she says she didn't understand him.
Yeah. We hear the child.
Yeah. And then does he say raise?
He says raise him. Yeah. So Kaleipus finally gives Xena his blessing. She,
Yeah. And she has to tell Solon about Kaleipus, which was really
It was really scene. Sad. Yeah, and you just feel like all of Solon's reactions, they're so, Xena has gone through these things. How he says, everyone close to me dies. These are feelings that Xena herself has had. So it was very moving to hear those ideas expressed by her son.
Yeah. And that's the point where she almost says, you still have me. Yeah.
Yeah. Many, many friends.
Many friends.
She turns it into. Oh, very sweet.
Yeah. And then he says real friends are like family, which is really great and a good line for this entire show.
He gets it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he knows on some level, I think, that Xena is family of his. He wants to be with her. He makes that so clear. I love that, maybe Xena wouldn't have been able to say that. She might not have been able to say, I want you to travel with me. Mm-hmm. I want to be your parent. But the fact that he basically says, I want that.
Yeah, well, and another great point to Kaleipus was that he told Solon, if anything ever happens to me, Xena will be there for you. Yeah. So he's actually been raised with this idea that this woman is going to be there for him.
Yeah, at least since Orphan of War. I doubt before that.
Well, not raised. Yeah, you know what I mean?
But he's had a year to really have the legend of Xena built up in his head. Xena's my friend. Yeah. She's awesome. I want to hang out with Xena.
Yeah, so that's cool that at least since then.
I think Kaleipus was a noble character, and not even in the end, throughout. And it's nice that he came around to Xena and really paved the way for this family reunion. It's very moving, even if he had to die to make it happen.
Xena tells them that they've got a lot to talk about, and they might as well do it on the road.
No, do it now, Xena. Yeah. Do it now. So I don't know. I have a very vivid memory of seeing this moment and being like,
oh no?
Well, I'm just being like, you can't travel with them. I'm not about to watch episodes of Xena with Xena, Gabrielle, and Solon. No, thank you. But at the same time, I still was in denial. I was like, maybe they'll send him to boarding school.
Meanwhile, Hope she's definitely kind of recharging after killing Kaleipus. She's just hanging out.
So many swords she had to propel through the air.
Yeah, and Callisto comes back, and I just want to point out that consistently the lighting on Hope, specifically in the caves, has been the traditional evil lighting.
Under.
Yeah, when you see campfire stories, the flashlight under your chin kind of thing. So it's really striking when you have they're in the same place, her and Callisto, but only Hope has this lighting on her. So
she has her own evil light she carries around with her.
That Dayhawk flame.
This is where Hope again kind of puts forward the thesis statement of the episode. She explains that the point is not to destroy them, but to crush their dreams via the destruction of their legacy, their children.
I thought it was interesting because Callisto immediately jumps to, well, I'm going to kill Solon. I'm so ready. Let me do it. And she's like, no, like, you can't do that. I'm going to do it, which is very interesting. Like,
she, I think, gets the rift. Little Hope. Rift. Hope is like, it's going to hurt a lot worse if I do it. If you do it, everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah. Callisto strikes again.
But they both have a beef against Xena. So
they both do, and as I've said, like, to me, it seems like Callisto has stated again and again that this is what she wants. She wants to destroy the things Xena loves. Whereas Hope is kind of newer to that game. But
wants to, like, step in and do the deed
and
herself.
I mean, she gets it. She gets it, Hope. She just wants to create the most drama possible.
Back in the Centaur village, it seems that all the children are being evacuated already, but I feel like they don't know that she's after the children yet.
No, they're just, I mean, they're here with the fireball god.
Oh, okay.
I think the first thought most people would have is, let's get the children somewhere safe.
Yeah. And Gabrielle is, frantically looking for Bela. She finds her, and that's where she reveals that she's her mother.
Very good Renee acting in this moment.
I mean, we could say that this episode is like just fireballs of acting from all
the ladies.
From all our ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just, it's just so devastating, I mean, in a way it's interesting because we have, both Xena and Gabrielle. Like, we just saw Xena playing a scene where she couldn't quite do it. She couldn't quite say, I'm your mother.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see Gabrielle, like, be braver about that faster. She's just like, no, I need to tell her. Yeah. And it's so much
to defend her actions.
Yes. It's true. Yeah, explaining, like, because that's so important to Gabrielle.
Yeah, and because in her mind, and not in her mind, actually, what she was doing was saving this baby, and she really needed to get that across. Yeah. There's a really great close-up, I think, in this scene of Gabrielle. It just strikes me that this episode really uses close-ups really well. There's
really
a lot.
Well, yes.
Yeah, you're like in everybody's sad faces all the time.
Well, so many of these emotions, like, it's impossible to express them with words. Like, in a way, you could watch this scene with Gabrielle, defending herself and revealing herself, and like interpret it in a lot of different ways. And I think that's what makes those close-ups so powerful, is that you see all these different emotions underneath the surface.
Yeah, and this does kind of remind me, just as I know this is a kind of old school TV thing, because we've gotten to a place where people throw around my favorite word, like TV's so cinematic now and la la la. But it was always this thing where you have narrative TV, that TV was considered the character medium, like the medium for characters. And part of that was because television uses close-ups, I think, in the same way as film, but a lot more.
Well, that's how you cover a scene, is you do two-shot, close-up, close-up.
Yeah. But, like, this particular way is, like, the best way. Like, they're really in their faces, as you said. Like, some stuff is just, like, you can't do it with dialogue. Yeah. And I feel like we'll see that continue.
So this is kind of the deciding moment for Gabrielle's character. I'm not sure exactly what her options are here, but obviously, like, this is kind of the moment where she makes her biggest mistake with Hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's convinced this is, her good little girl, and she wants to send her with the other kids because Callisto's out and about, and the kids are being taken and rounded up, and she's like, well, I'll send her to the safest place there is, which is with Solon, because
and Hope,
Xena's
the evil
baby.
genius, knows that if she can just convince Gabrielle that she's in great danger, that Gabrielle will send her to the same place as Solon. Mm-hmm. It's a very clever little scheme.
And she does.
Yeah. So it's really, it's manipulating Gabrielle's protective instinct. Yeah. And I guess on some level, she must know that Gabrielle will not tell Xena. Because, of course, that is so important to this moment, too, that Gabrielle does not ever share any of this information with Xena until it's too late.
So my question is, the safest place was just always Kaleipus' hut?
I know, it doesn't seem that secret. Yeah.
It's like one of the houses right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
That may be a flaw with the episode. They've already been in the caves, which seems like a way more secret place.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kaleipus' hut is actually the secretest. Maybe it's like the first place you'd look, so you're not going to look there.
Yeah, exactly. So little Solon is like, I'm almost done packing. And here comes Hope. And you're like, uh-oh.
The shot of her on the steps is very creepy. Very creepy, very threatening.
Yeah, very Omen. That one in particular, I would say.
For a split second, I was like, oh, what if you just like rewrote it and they would travel together and I would totally ship these two.
It?
Yep, I did.
That's weird.
Anyway, that's bad.
Oh man, I don't even know. It's awful. It's so bad. You really don't believe it's gonna happen until it happens.
Yeah,
and you're just like, wow. Like it's kind of beyond words for me, the podcaster. I'm just like, yikes, 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 yikes.
Hashtag yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah, Gabrielle. So this is where she reveals to Effie and Xena that Callisto's targeting, or she's interested in the children. So they're like, oh man, we gotta really get rid of them. And Xena and Gabrielle have like quite a scene.
Gabrielle finally divulges some information about Phala. She says that Phala gave her some information about Callisto's plans.
Yeah.
And Xena's suspicious immediately. Xena's like, why do you think we can trust this little girl? And Gabrielle says, well, it's not just any little girl, it's my daughter.
Yeah, I like the way that it comes out because it's not quite intentional.
Yeah, it's totally
she just
unintentional.
says, you are always so quick to blame her, and then immediately
she's not
Xena's
evil.
like,
she's not.
Yeah, and like it's just
You're right,
Gabrielle's,
without ever actually saying like this is Hope.
Yeah, and this whole scene where Gabrielle, like her anger at Xena for always reacting this way, just bubbles up to the point where she like lets it out what's going on, and like the yelling levels are so good,
so good.
Mm-hmm.
We should talk a little bit about the filmmaking of this scene. I love that it begins with Xena really close to the camera in profile, and you have Gabrielle out of focus behind, and it racks focus from one to the other. What we call the rack focus. And I felt like that very much puts you first on Xena's side of things. Like, I think the scene is trying to tell you that Gabrielle is in the wrong and that Xena's anger is kind of justified. I'm not sure if that is how I, as an audience member, actually reacted to it, but I could feel that that was kind of what the scene wanted us to do. I also really loved the decision to have the scene without any score. It's silent.
Yeah.
You hear like some just like ambient nature sounds underneath. It's so tense because you have that use of silence. And this is just the juiciest melodrama, I would say. Yeah. Finally having the events of Gabrielle's Hope come up again in this major way and seeing Xena realize that Gabrielle lied to her.
Yeah, it's hardcore. And I think I previously mentioned that Mark Beasley is one of my favorite directors, and he did a really good job in this one, for sure. Lots of very specific shot choices, and then like we're gonna even get to some more of them.
And the acting choices, I think, are very subdued. Like you could just go so over the top with this very quickly. And even though there is shouting and crazy shouting about how Hope isn't a child, she's a vessel and instrument of evil, like these slightly ridiculous lines. But, like, I feel like because it's pitched in this very realistic way, like, it works. It works. I mean, the moment when Xena is just like, we're going to poison this kid, like, the enormity of that just hits you, like, so hard. Because you're like, Xena is, like, just like, okay, we have to poison your kid now.
I mean, how is that different than, when she was running after them?
No, it's not.
It's the same stuff.
It's a continuation,
She just says it.
And she snaps back into that mindset so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, once again, like, no real, like, thinking about, like, what this is doing to Gabrielle. Like, no sympathy.
Yeah, but it's, like, obviously extra now. Before, she was, like, thinking broadly, like, oh, this is an evil child. We got to get rid of this evil child because broadly, like, this is bad for just the world. Here, it's, like, much more claustrophobic in the sense that, well, she's a danger to my kid right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah, I do like that Gabrielle tries to appeal to Xena as a mother.
Yeah,
just being like,
I think that's really important.
How, you have to understand, like, she's my daughter and I couldn't kill her. And why, like, you have to understand this because you're a mother too in this way.
Yeah. And Xena just won't.
I love that she doesn't see it even like as a real birth.
No.
Yeah,
like, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
she's so dismissive.
It's weird because I do find that when you kind of look at a lot of the reactions from fans that are on the internet, that a lot of it is siding with Xena, and I think that harkens back to what we said earlier about Hope being not so much the ambiguous character that she might have been. I think that would have made it a little easier to be on everybody's side. Than what is clearly an evil baby that had this evil inception that was horrible. And I think that it's very easy for me anyway, to understand Gabrielle and Gabrielle's motivations. But the way it kind of comes across is that it's much easier to see Xena's like point of view. We're like, you gotta get rid of this.
I mean, you could see it back in all the way again, back in Gabrielle's Hope. Like nobody was being
but they do such a good job of, like, I think, making you understand Gabrielle.
Absolutely.
So I do get defensive of her in this moment, and people criticizing her, because I don't see how you can't see where she's coming from.
I think it's so easy to see Gabrielle as being unreasonable, but I'm telling you that, like, Xena is being equally unreasonable here. The fact that Xena just misplays this situation like the exact same stupid way she did previously, with just being like, kill the demon, kill it, just like will not listen to Gabrielle. And I think in the end that is the biggest tragedy of this episode, is the breakdown of communication between these two women. They just can't make the other see why they've done what they've done. Like, it's just this, they're both so stubborn in their own way, and they just can't find that common ground.
This is the beauty of the Rift arc, right? This is these two characters again being deconstructed, or like stripped down to like their traits that up to now have been considered their, I don't know what you would call it, like their like good qualities, and like you're seeing now how their commitment to the qualities or something is unreasonable if you if you can't compromise, if you can't like see somebody else's point of view.
They're both so convinced they're right. Gabrielle believes this is my daughter, and she came from my flesh, she has the capacity to be good. Xena looks at this and says, like, my instincts are always right, I always trust them, I see a threat, what do I do with threats? I kill them.
Yep.
She can't see the way it's affecting Gabrielle, and that Gabrielle may have not necessarily a point about Hope's goodness, but that asking Gabrielle to like help her poison Hope is just not, like, that is not going to get Xena like what she needs. It's just contributing to this culture of secrets, and that's the real tragedy. The fact that they can't talk to each other kills Solon.
Mm-hmm. So now we have one of the greatest scenes, I think, from this episode, which is Xena running to Kaleipus' hut and discovering Solon.
This reminds me of that Buffy moment where she's running through the high school.
To find Kendra?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Slow-mo. Well, that was slow-mo.
Slow-mo run.
That was so good. It was in the credits.
Yeah, it was hardcore.
Yeah, I love the way that this was, just all of it.
I mean, the staging of it is the worst.
Yeah,
thanks, Mark Beasley.
Yeah, well, okay, so they really wanted it to be not gratuitous. Obviously, they didn't want to see Hope kill him or anything like that, or like they didn't want to show us, or like the audience shouldn't see this.
Whenever you make that choice, what also happens is that your imagination creates something way worse than anything. So as much as they're sparing us this very sensitive, like, image of a child killing another child, like, we're all seeing it now. We're all imagining it.
Yeah, but like weirdly to me that wasn't important. What was important to me obviously was Xena finding him.
Yeah.
And just the way that it was, like, he was positioned in such a very specific way, like
as if he was praying.
Yeah. And I think that was such an interesting choice. I love that, and then obviously everything that Lucy does. afterwards.
There's a moment like when she first picks him up where the camera kind of rocks back and forth, and I thought it was going to keep doing that as if it was like mimicking her like rocking him, but it didn't. But it just kind of went back like left, right, and I thought that was good. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do that a little bit because I don't know, it just felt like destabilizing in a way. Yeah, and you know, Lucy, so good.
As a person who watches a lot of TV and film, I feel like we've seen kind of like this scene before or in other mediums. So many people choose to play it so many ways, but what I thought was so original about this was like the moment where she kind of like focused on his fingertips.
I loved that. Yeah,
and I've never seen that.
His fingers.
Never seen that before.
The way you would with a baby.
Okay. I never thought about that either.
It definitely reminded me of the moment in Orphan of War where she has this tender moment with him where he's in pain.
Yeah.
Like that the only way she can be close to him as a mother are these moments where he's in pain or dead. Like this is the most maternal she gets to be with him, and that's just so tragic.
And of course now that he's dead, she's able to say like your mom is here, which she hasn't been able to get out the whole time.
You can feel how hard it is even here. Her voice breaks on mom. It's so hard for her to say that. Oh God.
And Gabrielle comes running.
Yikes!
Yeah,
Hashtag yikes.
Yep. Gabrielle comes in and wow, Xena's just really not into that. She just screams for her to get out.
And she does, which is good.
Yeah, this was not a good moment to intrude on.
Yeah, but she has a great reaction as well. And then I think just to cap off this scene, we got to talk about how hard it is to get a fucking dramatic scream, like right now. Like some people, when you do it, and it's just, it can be cheesy and over the top. But not this one.
Darth Vader, no.
Sure. Like some when you have a really big emotion like that, I mean, sometimes it's like, well, is the better choice to just
contain
it to just, you know, and she has kind of been that way, like up through now. But like, so when you have that big like release of emotion, it can sometimes come across as a little cheesy.
Right. That's Renee's concern with
here.
The scream and the deliverer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not there and not here. This is one for the books. A plus screaming.
And of course you just need the scream for the plot of this episode because Callisto hears the scream.
Yes.
As she aforementioned has always wanted to hear.
Like music to her ears. Yeah. Or are they?
This shot Callisto has to be a top Callisto moment.
Yeah, it's one of my two, I think, for sure.
It's the image before a commercial break, which I thought was like a cool choice. That you don't end on Xena's scream, you end on Callisto.
Well, you hear it. I mean, it's there.
I mean, it's there, but you end on Callisto reacting to it and her face journey.
As they call it in acting school. Your face journey.
It's the best.
Kind of going back to Xena's screaming, I love that usually you get one, right? Mostly it's like just the one.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get two. This continues, and I think that's great because I'm just like imagining Xena just sitting there constantly doing it. Once the floodgates
are open,
yeah,
right?
She's just sitting there continuously doing it, and I think that's amazing. But yeah, the Callisto face journey, you have that like TJ Scott camera, tilty camera kind of come in. She's in the caves just hanging, and like hears it, stands up. And it's just wonderful. She's so happy to hear it. And then, of course, the journey continues on her face where, you know what? It is not doing all that it was supposed to do.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So I was obsessed with this moment because it reminded me of, get this, guys, Mark Beasley's last time directing Callisto doing exactly this in Unnecessary Evil? That's the name of the episode? Yeah. The one after The Quest, where she made Xena confess her sins against her in the town, right? So it was exactly this, right? Now, the beauty of that scene was that it remained how it was, and nobody talked about it. Here, unfortunately, they do discuss it.
Yep.
Which made it lose a little bit of power for me. I sort of forgot that they had a whole conversation about it.
Yeah, you don't need to say what the face journey means.
Yeah, the face journey is clear.
It is. And yeah, I feel because it is right before a commercial break, it's like the period of emphasis on the scene. You know, you expect one thing and then instead, you get this other.
It was magical because we already said Callisto kind of like not the main focus of this episode. And this was such a huge moment for her character. Like, it was this was a great Callisto moment. Top 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top 2.
This is, all she's ever wanted. She thinks finally, finally. And then, life goes on.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything to her.
So after the commercial break, Xena's just where he left her, over Solon's body. And Effany peeks in, and Xena just, like, shouts at her to go away. Xena's, like, this raw force.
Yeah, Effany is begging her to help with the kids.
Yeah.
Because, like,
everybody else's kid is in danger.
Yes, exactly. And, of course, nothing matters to Xena at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Xena's just become this, like, ferocious animal. Like, you do not want to approach her. Like, she seems so dangerous.
So she screams at Effany. Effany leaves. And then, once again, someone is there to bother her. And she's like, yeah.
And it's sweet little Xena, her namesake.
He's so cute. I can't handle it.
He's so cute, and I love, they really draw out this beat,
Yes.
in extreme close-up. You have this close-up of little Xena who looks really scared, and you have Xena just, like, looking at him, and it's just so heartbreaking, this look on her face. Because here's a little boy, like her little boy.
Yep. And her motivation now to leave and help.
Yeah. She manages to pull herself back from the brink of grief and, continue with the episode. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Gabrielle is at the poison shop.
Straight to the poison.
Some ingredients for child murder.
Props to her. Straight to the poison from there.
Yeah. Went straight to the poison shop.
Too late, but good job anyway.
I mean, it's so upsetting.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
It's awful.
Yeah. She realizes her mistake, and I mean that to me is so Gabrielle. Like, she will admit when she's wrong and then go clean up the mess herself, and like, ugh.
Yeah. She's pouring the poison into the like water skin. Yeah. And here comes Hope.
Hope is trying to tell Gabrielle that she had nothing to do with Solon being killed, but
she killed him.
For some reason she wouldn't have known Solon's name. So in saying it, Gabrielle immediately realizes that
this again was writing that I felt was maybe a little obvious. I would have almost preferred Hope's story to be kind of convincing, and Gabrielle just not falling for it this time. You didn't need
she
like
didn't
a
want
gotcha
to believe
moment.
that.
I liked how she immediately, like, first she's like very cross with Hope.
Yeah, like, what do you want?
She like, here she's confronting her as if, yep, you're an evil vessel, just like Xena said, look what you just did. And then as soon as she's like, no, Callisto did it, like,
he was dead when I got there.
The switch on Gabrielle was so great.
He fell into my night 5 times.
She's just so eager to have this girl be good, and is just ready to lap it up as soon as any kind of inkling that she's telling the truth.
Yeah, I guess for me, I was ready. Like, Gabrielle's hope isn't unlimited. Seeing Xena cradling Solon, I like to think that was it. Like, that she wasn't going to buy Hope's bullshit anymore. So I guess for me, I would have liked if Hope's story just, like, made sense and, like, seemed convincing, and Gabrielle just can't fall for it again. But it's still a great scene.
All right, so Callisto is now very depressed, and she lumbers into the
I like this
village.
point of view shot of her entering the market square. It's rare we get Callisto perspective, and it's just as disorienting as you might expect.
Yeah, no one is at the village when she kind of like gets there, and then you have this extreme close-up on Xena's face. Xena's there.
She shoots her with an arrow from a compound bow, and it goes all the way through Callisto.
Yeah. No, all the shots of her firing these arrows is very, very good.
She's so silent. She's just this silent ferocious thing. Like, she's really the spirit of vengeance here.
Yeah.
More so than Callisto. Callisto's just become the spirit of chaos now. She, like, can't get what she wants, so she's just gonna do whatever.
Well, she doesn't know. Like, she's in this point where she doesn't know what's happening to her. She doesn't, like, she expected Xena losing somebody she loved to solve everything for her, and it hasn't, so she's kind of, like, lost.
Yeah, she has no purpose.
Yeah, so that's why she's, like, very depressed and kind of, like, entering a new sort of phase of her wants and needs as a character.
But she's still open to some old-fashioned gloating.
Of course.
Yeah, she welcomes Xena to the club.
Yeah.
The Lost Your Family Club.
Yeah, and, well, like I said, I loved all the shots of Xena firing her bow. Very, very good to look at. And this is the scene that does utilize these, like, crazy extreme close-ups on Xena's face.
Yeah.
Cut with Callisto being arrowed a million times.
Super arrowed.
Yeah, she gets so, like, Saint Sebastian.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know why they went with that image.
But it's
good.
It's the picture that they use on the TV Tropes website to represent the trope called annoying arrows, which is when, like, you get hit by a bunch of arrows, but, like, they don't really seem to faze you, like maybe it would if you were hit by an arrow. And, like, so yeah, there's just, like, a picture of her with, like, a jillion arrows, being like, I'm standing up and fine, it's all good.
I mean, she's a god.
She's a god,
Presumably
so-
arrows
but
don't
it
do
is
too
funny.
much. And yeah, feel like Xena even knows that, but it's just shooting her full of arrows just out of spite.
Yeah, like
Like,
a
this
punching
is
bag.
just spite arrows. Yeah.
Yeah, so she gets, like, porcupined with the arrows, and, you know, it makes her stumble a little bit, but then she godifies and expels them all and, like, legitimately murders all those people
Yeah, I
who
know.
are firing them.
Yeah.
Like, centaurs and dudes.
Yeah. There's a huge body count for this
Yeah.
episode, but you wouldn't know it, the body count.
Because they only...
It's just the two.
Two kids. Callisto says, "You'd like to kill me, wish you could." Which is
Pin.
a very,
Yeah, big pin.
important line.
And then she just kind of knocks Xena aside. It's rare to see Xena kind of get the
Yeah.
stuffing kicked out of her, too. It's a reminder in some ways that Xena is a little off her game here.
Well, I feel like, you know, she is a god. You can't forget that. So, but unlike, like, she doesn't kill Xena or anything like that.
No,
It
she's
doesn't
not
hurt her
interested in
even. She
doing
just kind
that.
of, like, flicks her
Yeah,
away.
like a rag doll. Yeah.
So Callisto goes to the caves because that's where the kids are hiding.
I like the detail in this cave set that there's this, like, big Titan skull.
Oh, I
there.
didn't notice this.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's there. This is some kind
So
of
it's the Titan caves.
grave. Yeah.
Wow.
here. Or a giant, I suppose. It's just a really big skull.
Do
Yeah.
you miss the Titans? Do you miss your fave?
Oh, Thea. Still the worst. I'd forgotten.
I loved how Callisto came in and she was like, "Hey, where are you guys?" And she's like, "Can't you see I bring you the gift of oblivion?" And I feel like she's legitimate about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think she is giving people the things she can't have. Like,
But now she desires that most.
Yeah.
Like, she's decided that's
she's
what she
gone
wants
through the
now.
whole list,
Yes.
like, of everything she could possibly ever want in her life, and, like, now all that's left is death.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that she's already, she worked so hard to be immortal, and now she's like, death. I want death.
Mm-hmm.
She has this, I think, really amazing line to Xena when they meet again in this temple that's immediately, like, falling apart because she, like,
Is
blasts.
it a temple? It's a temple
I don't-
underground.
Yeah, some kind of underground.
So it's not just caves. It's like
I don't
caves
know.
that
Like
lead
I
to a
said,
temple.
there's
definitely,
this
like-
weird altar situation. They're like these columns.
Yeah, like the columns are there.
Which, yeah, she blasts through with her god powers. So then for the rest of the scene, the cave/temple is falling down around them, which to me felt very symbolic. It kind of reminded me of
The
Spike
Deliverer?
and Buffy
Oh. What?
in Smash.
What? Oh, but that should end then with her and Callisto having sex.
I know. Well, I mean, in some ways, this is a consummation of Xena and Callisto's relationship because finally, I mean, Xena is coming at Callisto with the same rage and ferocity that, like, Callisto back in the day was always coming at Xena. Like, I feel like Xena was always able to take the high road. She was always able, especially in, like, circa Return of Callisto, like, she was, like, so over, like, a lot of, like, Callisto's bullshit. Actually, I'm more thinking of a necessary evil. By then, she really like couldn't be baited by Callisto. She was like, no, like we've been through this. And here she is back to kind of being like, you're everything. I'm going to destroy you.
But she can't. She's a god. So to me, it's not at all the same kind of level of like intimacy as a Callisto or Return of Callisto brought you.
You like when there's the equality.
Yeah, because she can't actually do damage to Callisto here. Her whole entire point here is to listen to Callisto, let her do her thing, and trap her in the cave with the rocks.
Do you think is Xena punishing herself in a way, exposing her to Callisto, knowing that Callisto is going to pour salt on all the wounds? That seems like a pretty twisted thing for Xena to do in some ways. Yeah, if she can stop Callisto, but she can't kill her. So in some ways,
but
putting herself in this position,
it's also very heroic because she's doing it to save the kids. She's a hero.
She's always a hero.
Are you crying about it, Katie?
A little bit.
So let's talk briefly about what Callisto is doing in this episode in general. Because I think, just from a plot perspective, this could have been one thing too many. I generally hate in superhero movies when you have two villains, because like neither's going to get like enough attention. Like it's just a great way of watering down your plot. So having Hope the evil child and Callisto could have been just like too much, because they both, Hope has like her backstory with Gabrielle and all of that we just saw. Callisto obviously has a much more like long-running storyline, and how can you do justice to both of those characters in a single episode? I think this episode does an amazing job of balancing it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Hope is, I guess, scary. Scary isn't the word, but she stirs up a lot of drama, so we have respect for that. But Callisto's an actual threat. You feel like Callisto you can fight. We're not about to see Xena fight that kid.
No, but the kid has powers too, so it's not like, she's a defenseless child. Like, they do a lot of work to make her scary.
Yeah, in her own way. I feel like there are two different versions of female threat. You have, like, little evil child and then God.
Yeah.
They're both gods, but they have very different screen presences. So I think it actually really works. You feel like the combined threat of these two. Because, like, of course you would want Callisto to be present at this moment where the worst possible thing in the world happens to Xena. If Callisto wasn't here, you'd almost be like, oh my God, where's Callisto? She would be so bad.
Can you imagine what Callisto would take it from this?
Like, you need her here, even if she's just sort of here to observe. Like, that, to me, feels
Effie's here to observe.
Callisto's here to gloat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Callisto definitely needs to be here, and for all of the reasons that you expressed, but then also I think she represents something really symbolic for both Xena and Gabrielle, that as we brought up a few times, the Rift Arc is doing this thing where it's kind of deconstructing the two of them, and Callisto fits into these areas for both Xena and Gabrielle. And I think we came across an amazing breakdown of this episode on a fan site called 2 Dinars.
My 2 dinars?
Yeah, My 2 Dinars. And it seems to me it was so it's a website that was just reviews for every episode that fans could submit. It goes up through season 4. And there's this great post by someone going by the pseudonym Deb7, who breaks down the inclusion of Callisto in this episode for Xena and Gabrielle. And I loved these points, and I desperately need to read them. Okay, so number 1, she's a symbol of Xena's dark past and handiwork, so is a product of past Xena. And then also
she's
points
like
out
that dark mirror for Xena.
Yeah, and then also points out that while we're in this Rift Arc, it kind of becomes a proxy for Ming Tian.
That's true. Yeah. You made me. They both say that.
Mm-hmm. And then for Gabrielle, so Callisto is the person who brought Gabrielle in the past to the brink of killing the first time.
Contemplating the loss of her blood innocence.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she chose not to. She spared Callisto's life.
We're about to talk about that some more. Also, she was a past recipient of Gabrielle's forgiveness, which is, a major major character trait for Gabrielle is her goodness and her forgiveness. And then number 4, Callisto is the clear depiction of the corrosiveness of hate and lust for revenge, which is a biggie in this arc.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you see Callisto, she's at the like tail end of that vengeance arc where you realize that vengeance just makes things worse. Mm-hmm. Like she realizes that now. She's just empty. Like there is nothing. Like she's done all of this, her entire life she's dedicated to vengeance. And like what does she have to show for it? Like nothing. And yeah, we're about to start the vengeance arc for Xena and Gabrielle as well. And like they're only at the very beginning of it where vengeance just looks very tempting, like to hurt someone the way you've been hurt. But yeah, what does that bring you in the end?
I love Callisto's emptiness here, and particularly this line she delivers where she's like, she explains to Xena just the text of what was going on with that previous scene with her face journey, and she says, you're gonna let me go, you can't win this battle and you've already won the war, which I thought was such an intriguing line.
She destroyed Callisto's life when she was a child. That was winning the war in Callisto's eyes. There's nothing that can be done after that. It's a very fatalistic view of things. She has this vision of Xena trapping her there in this destroyed temple where the two of them together. Xena will eventually die in that situation, but Callisto never will. She'll just live on and on with her pain. So she sees that as true cruelty if Xena were to trap them both. It kind of reminded me of what she says in Return of Callisto about this image of the two of them in Tartarus for eternity, and that was like great back then.
Yeah.
She's like, yes. But now she has this more nuanced view. She sees how she's different from Xena in part because she's immortal.
Yes.
So like
she's experienced immortality.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that for her, you know, the continuation of her consciousness is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Oblivion would be a gift, as she says. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's just so clear now, just like what she wants. It's so good. Xena's plan was to bait Callisto into using her powers so that she would collapse this cave. And
because everybody knows that gods are, like, the one thing that can stop a god is rocks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw it a little bit with Velasco.
Yeah. Rocks always beat. Rock, paper, scissors, rock. Yep. For sure.
And she, like, Superman flies out of the cave.
But not without delivering her, like, final fuck you line. Which is, she says...
Oh, that's great.
You let your pain kill you years ago, she says to Callisto. I'm gonna live with mine. And she flies out of there. So she won't, you know, she's not going down with the ship. She's not gonna kill herself here, even though that maybe is you know, holds some appeal in this moment for her, in this state of emotional turmoil. But she's like, no, I'm gonna live with this pain.
Mm-hmm. That's such a good line.
She's not gonna let it beat her.
Yeah. It's just it's concise line.
Yeah. Xena's a role model. Yeah, it's so good.
So all the kids are safe, and Effie doesn't do anything but babysit them. Oops. Meanwhile, what is Gabrielle up to?
So mean to Effie.
She could have done some action stuff here.
She could have shot one of those arrows at Callisto, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. She could have had a sword in her hand or something while the kids were being shuffled around. I don't know. Yeah, what's Gabrielle up to, guys?
You know, just typical stuff, like poisoning her child and considering poisoning herself.
Yes. So we cut back and...
#yikes.
She's done the deed. Hope is dead underneath, like, she covered her up with something.
And once again, we have this very kind of careful, elliptical editing. You don't see Hope die. You just see her hand lying on the ground. There's a sheet covering her body. It's very disturbing as it is.
The use of silence in the scene, really beautiful.
Yeah, so she definitely considers drinking the poison herself here.
She brings it up to her lips and even tilts it a bit.
Yeah.
It's a very close thing. I saw a great observation, and now I forget where I saw this online, but a fan pointed out that the kind of the setting and the coloring of this scene mirrors her dream about Meridian.
That's
at
the
beginning.
same post that I referenced with the points about Callisto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Deb
that's
7?
Yeah, Deb 7.
It's a really good
full of
post.
awesome observations, because I thought that was so great. Because, you had this idyllic imagery shattered. And in some ways, that's what this is. A mother and daughter here on this, like, hill. It's very pretty. The sun is setting.
It's nighttime.
There's golden light.
Yeah. It's not night time.
I totally saw it as nighttime, guys.
No, it's actually very, like...
Late evening.
I have some colorblind issues.
Let's get to the important crux of the scene. Is it late evening? Or like...
What time do you guys think it is?
Like midnight? Or...
It definitely seems important to me that, like, when Xena comes into the scene, the light is full on her face and Gabrielle is in darkness.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I think, that's a little question for the table. Why does Gabrielle not drink the poison?
She's going to live with her pain.
Yeah.
The same way Xena said.
Vera, you mentioned that Renee played it a certain way.
All right, so Renee said that the way I look at the poison scene, Gabrielle was obviously dealing with the loss of her child and having to do this terrible thing to Hope. But then beyond that, when it came time to drink the poison, I decided to play that Gabrielle was too afraid to take her own life. I thought that's the most human thing she could feel.
Wow.
I think that's very interesting because I feel like none of us kind of read that into that scene.
Well, she's a Gryffindor.
But I too thought, like, we watched it and just having Xena say this amazing line, I was like, oh yeah, both of them are going to live with this pain. But hearing how she played it, that's just so fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. It's true. That's so fascinating that, like, for Xena, the courage to go on, like, it's about courage. Like, I'm going to live with this. And, the fact that for Gabrielle, it's, I'm afraid of it not going on. I'm afraid of what happens if this stops. Yeah. That it's the same decision, but arrived at from these two different directions.
Way to make it be heroic sounding for both of them. I just thought it was so cool because you expect your hero of the show to be like this, like what Xena says, and the fact that Gabrielle...
What's the Buffy line? The only, quote, Buffy...
Buffy.
is to live with it, that line at the end of the musical.
The hardest thing in this world is to live with. That's not the musical. That's the end of season 5. The hardest thing in this world is to live in it. Yeah, but they quote it
again at the end of the musical.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no more Buffy. Buffy. This episode does not need more Buffy in it.
But I just think that it's very awesome that at least one of them has this very human thing where she wants to kill herself, but literally isn't courageous enough, sorry, Gryffindor, to do it. She can't do it.
But it wouldn't be courageous if she did it.
It's true. It would be an escape from her problems. It would be a way of never having to apologize to Xena, never having to see Xena in pain. Like, there are two sides to this decision, but
Two sides.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very complicated, very human moment. I mean, in a way, what's really the most important thing about it is just the fact that she felt strongly enough to consider ending her life. That her blood innocence is now truly gone. This is the second person she has killed.
Second person she's killed, but also in a way that is just completely unambiguous.
Yeah.
The first
premeditated
in a way that the other one is more of a snap decision, and like people argue, it was in self-defense or like this and that, but here is very calculated.
And it's her own daughter.
Mm-hmm. And it's her, yeah.
It was sort of circling back to the whole killing yourself thing. I think that it's really it's interesting to play off Callisto and Gabrielle and maybe put a pin in it. I don't know.
Okay.
Just something to
You
consider.
think Callisto too was kind of too cowardly to ever...
She was, and
she
became will continue
immortal.
to be.
She was afraid of death.
It's like what she wanted always, like even when she said in Callisto, like that dying battle or whatever with Xena was the greatest thing, but like
she can never quite
she can't do it herself ever. Pin.
I am interested in you guys' opinions about the coverage of Xena in the scene. because Gabrielle, she dumps out the rest of the poison, and then you have Xena walking into the scene.
This is very important.
And there's, it's a forest-like situation. For me, when I look at it, she steps out. So she steps into the scene after all this has happened. So it's unclear to me how much of what just happened she actually saw because of when she enters in the scene. So in my head, I had this idea that like she had been standing there and saw everything, because where she is and where she's walking out from, like her line of sight of Gabrielle was not blocked in any way. So if she was just walking up, she would probably have seen all that. But I don't think that it quite reads that way in the scene itself. So it's kind of ambiguous. But apparently as written or as shot, it was supposed to be that she actually did walk up and see that this was happening. And there were original ideas that Xena would maybe like chakram the poison out of Gabrielle's hand if she saw her like really doing it, or you'd see her hand like going to
ready
do it.
to intervene.
And like so then she only like steps forward to show Gabrielle that she's there after Gabrielle stops like of her own accord. But like this idea that like she wouldn't have let her go through with it, which is interesting given the next episode.
I thought it was really ambiguously filmed, as you said. I mean, we had a whole discussion after we watched it.
Yeah, we did.
Because you could read it, like you definitely can read it as she was there watching all this, but you never see the coverage of her doing that. Yeah. So that's like, you are insinuating this. Like,
I wish there was a shot of her looking.
Yeah.
And seeing
I would have loved to see her walk up. Then, maybe Gabrielle doesn't know she's there. So she stops in the bushes and like looks at this whole scene.
Watches that poison tip back.
Yeah, it would have been extra powerful if we saw Xena standing there watching this whole scene.
What would it have meant for Xena, do you think? Like, what would be going through Xena's head watching that and not intervening?
I mean, it's like, that's how deep her pain lies right now, that she's letting
You think
Gabrielle...
that would open Xena's eyes? Like, would she see that Gabrielle is in real pain too? Would it help? Would it help with the rift? I can't see. That's where I almost can't decide, like, if it makes matters worse or if it is sort of like a bit of an olive branch as a moment.
I don't think Xena seeing, like, all right, so in this hypothetical version where we see her watching this, I think that actually makes it like, and not interfering with it in any sort of way, I think that shows more of like the pain of Xena, the fact that she doesn't step in to have Gabrielle.
Which she normally would
And leading into the beginning of the Bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of the original ideas that she would have intervened, like that she would have chakrammed it out of her hand. I don't really
neither
like
they
those.
were.
Yeah,
were
they weren't either. Yeah,
in a way that would be a first step towards reconciliation. Like, I'm angry at you.
Yeah,
but I don't want you to kill yourself. I don't want you to punish yourself for what you did.
No, and that's not where she is at all, and that's not
the fact that she could hang back, that she could see this happening and do nothing, I think really shows you where she is emotionally. Like, how often do you even see Xena in any circumstance hang back and do nothing?
Yes, exactly. But the fact that we don't see this and the way that it is filmed right now, which is Gabrielle does all this,
then suddenly
very
Xena
specifically puts down the poison, and then Xena appears. What Xena sees from like what we are given is that while Gabrielle poisoned her child, Xena would not know that she considered killing herself, which I think is a very like specific thing for the audience. Like, the audience is supposed to be like, oh, maybe if Xena saw that she was so hurt by this whole thing that she was willing to kill herself, she would like have feelings for Gabrielle again and like forgive her.
But as it is, I think the look on Xena's face is so like, this isn't enough.
There's
no
a
sympathy.
Tiny face journey that happens.
Yeah, how would you describe the tiny face journey?
Just a small face journey.
like around the block to get some milk from the store.
Yeah, it wasn't like an entire circling the globe kind of face journey, but just...
I mean, I love the expressions on both their faces because it is just so ambiguous and rich. Yes. Like, it's so hard to say. Like, for me, it's a very hurtful moment. Like, I see it as a moment where there could have been some kind of softening, and there just isn't. Like, there, for neither of them. Like, you feel like there's almost something defiant on Gabrielle's face. Like, I did this.
Pulls her head up.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment when she's looking at Xena. And yeah, I think defiant is a good word. It's not the only thing, but it's definitely in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And on Xena's part, some continuing accusation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, this isn't enough. I mean, that's what I see on Xena's face. It's like, this isn't enough. She comes in on this tragic, like, fucking tragic tableau. And it's just like, I'm not impressed.
I saw the little face journey to me said, okay, good, you did this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is there. Like, you did what needed to be done. That's why she's there, to check, to make sure that happened. Yeah.
So.
They're going to talk now. It's not over.
The subtitles go, Ebony vocalizing somber tune.
She's taking over somber tune duties from Xena, who usually would do her little eulogy music.
Yeah, so now it's nighttime. We cannot dispute
definitely
this.
Nighttime.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll give you this. It's nighttime now.
It's very dark.
The sun actually set, which is what the sun does every fucking day.
And we have the two pyres of the two dead children and not anybody else.
Not anybody else.
Kaleipus is just still hanging there.
On the internet was like, one of them is Kaleipus and not Hope, because Xena would never have let Hope be in the pyre next to Solon.
Wow.
That's a reasonable point.
Interesting. Wow.
I think that there's a good chance that is true.
I was doubting this, but now I'm not. I'm like, whoa, that's legit.
I think
that is
not clear, but yeah.
Certainly the image of the two mothers and the two pyres. Yeah,
this is why I think it's very easy to be like, it's Hope because of the blocking. And obviously this is like one of the best shots of the episode because you have the two pyres on either side. You have Xena and Gabrielle very distant in front of each one, which is kind of just supposed to, I think the symbolism there is like these areas of their lives that are up in flames, literally.
Yeah.
And there's like, somebody wrote that there was like, I missed this, but like even like this little trail of water between them, all these little separations. I'm not sure if I didn't go back and check, but I thought that was interesting.
It was very
noticeable.
There's
some water.
They were standing like as close as two people can be while being so fundamentally separate. Yeah. So it's not like they're like on opposite ends of the square, but they're just like a couple not
feet.
Standing.
They're a few feet.
Yeah.
But they're also like they're standing in front of their very personal stories.
Yeah, and those stories, even though they intersect so fatefully, but yet they feel so separate here.
Yeah.
They're mourning their children, and like they can't mourn each other's children.
Well, so what do they talk about?
They talk.
What's this little chit chat?
Oh man, just like, how are you been? Where is it nighttime now? You want any of those little red things with the red stuff?
Don't rub it in.
No.
Gabrielle is definitely feeling guilty here, and she kind of, expresses that to Xena.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will, Gabrielle is, she admits when she's wrong, finally. Like, she comes clean. And
if only I had done what you told me.
Yeah, she's willing to be the person who apologizes here. She's willing to take the blame for everything. Mm-hmm. And Xena can't hear it yet.
Yeah. No,
really?
I almost kind of want to just do all the dialogue of the scene, but that we don't need to do that. But Xena just getting angry at her for even saying Solon's name.
Yeah.
I don't think Xena wants Gabrielle at this funeral.
Yeah.
No.
She's trying to get Gabrielle away as fast as possible. So she says the most hurtful things she could possibly say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
my son is dead because of you.
Like, I trusted you. You lied to me.
Ouch, ouch.
I mean, these are
yikes. Hashtag yikes.
It's all true. There's nothing about it that's not true.
Yeah.
But it's just the way, the fact that there is an apology and Xena's just like,
But how do you apologize?
How do you apologize?
Sorry,
for
my
this?
kid killed your kid.
Let's
also
circle back to the beginning where we were talking about tragedy and Greek tragedy and giant obstacles. Like, how do you get over this? And, maybe you can't. Maybe
it's a deal breaker, ladies.
Oh, man. Yeah, but I mean, this is like, if you were like in your writer's room being like, what can we come up with to drive these two characters apart? gold star to whoever raised their hands and said, their kid should kill their kid.
I bet it was Rob.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is just so far in a direction that it is almost impossible to see how they can come back from this. This is devastating.
Yeah. And it makes it even worse when Gabrielle lets out that little "I love you, Xena."
Well, wait, the line exchange is Solon is dead because of you. Response, I love you, Xena. I've never encountered anything like this on a television program at all, ever. But going back to sort of what you were saying, Olivia, about the writer's room and coming up with this plot, what a perfect way to get rid of kids for your like, no, for real, it is perfect because it's like so dramatic, and look what they did. They shed this baggage technically. If they could have easily left them like whatever in the Centaur village and like having they would have dealt with Hope.
Solon sometimes,
but at the same time you're like, whoa, Xena still has that kid out there. You always kind of circle back to that.
Vera, I want to be outraged by what you're saying, but at the same time, I think back to like me seeing Orphan of War and being so on the fence about it. Like, oh, does Xena really need a kid? Like, I had such mixed feelings about them introducing this to her storyline, because there's something just so appealing about this free woman, just goes about the countryside with no obligations, like fighting.
Of course.
Like that is a fantasy that I think we can all love. And suddenly having Solon in there, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then I saw this episode and I was like, I'm glad they put Solon in there.
Just to kill them.
Just to kill him. Shit.
We've talked about this a little bit with Gabrielle's Hope, but I think we can safely say that throughout the show, when the show tackles storylines about motherhood, it is definitely not so much falling into traps that are reducing these characters in any way to some kind of tropes or ideas about motherhood.
Yep.
It's
There are
definitely
never any
doing
value judgments
interesting
about it.
things, unexpected things, crazy things.
It's never saying that, these characters, like, in order to be happy in their lives, need to become mothers.
No.
Like, that's never the kind of
and it's always part of a bigger thing as well. It's not like the main thing. It's
something that they would encounter as women in the ancient world. You might get pregnant, you might have a baby, and it generates stories that are interesting. I think that is what's important, is that you never just have taking care of the baby, dealing with the baby. Like, it's always about like what that reveals about them as women.
Yes.
I think, especially here where a child kills another child, the fact that this has actually become the most devastating thing to happen to either character, and that it happens all at once in this crazy, outrageous event. You're just like, whoa, I can't imagine how they would ever fix this. It is so bad. Crazy. It is so bad. Like, the show needs to end right now because there's just nowhere else to take this. I mean, you can totally see how this would be shark jumping territory, because you're just like
fighting words.
I mean, again, I'm speaking as if I don't know what comes after this.
Exactly.
But it is just beyond. And it just is beyond anywhere where most sane writers would take their characters.
Good thing these guys are
Because these two characters can't be in a room together after this. And I mean, I feel like we have seen shows that have taken their characters to such extremity that they can't bring them back. And you're going to get mad at me because I'm going to mention Buffy again. But like Willow season 6 went so far. And then season 7, they kind of had to bring her back. And it always felt kind of unconvincing. It was like she had done so much. Like, how can she just, live in Buffy's house with them again? It just felt a little bit like they had to, force the puzzle pieces into a shape. And it was always a little uncomfortable.
It's because they did their musical in season 6.
They'd already blown their load with the musical fixes everything.
You can only sing out. And it's true, and we'll totally get there.
So I think Xena is doing something that narratively is just incredibly brave. And what's really amazing about it is that they are going to fix it.
Anyway, they walk off in opposite directions. You see this just beyond upsetting close-up of Xena crying.
Yes.
Oh no, everything is terrible.
So the final shot, as mentioned, is this crane of them walking in two separate directions. I guess sort of mirroring her walking away from Solon and Orphan of War. Because it is on Xena.
It's on Xena, and you see what she's leaving behind her, which is these two flaming pyres of dead children.
Oh, shit.
Just, some fun Saturday evening drama on your telly for you to eat nachos to.
It's rough, man. Everything is very, very terrible. We have left these characters at rock bottom.
It's like the meme with the little dog thing sitting in the burning house being like, this is fine. That's how I feel with this. Just like, this is fine.
I feel great about
yikes.
it. I feel absolutely great about it. I eat this up for breakfast. It's so good. It's just so good.
Totally.
The drums.
The drums.
But I can absolutely see D and Z. This not being people's bags as well. But I love it.
Tragedy is hard, I mean, I think it's in art, it's a way of training yourself to deal with the sad things in life. Like, that's how I think of it when I think back to me as a little person who just could not deal with it. Just was no. My parents had to filter out all my entertainment because I just refused to deal with the darker things in life. I would get angry. I would just they took me to this performance of Romeo and Juliet, and afterwards I was just mad at everybody. I just was yelling at my parents, being I don't understand why that had to happen. I don't understand why it had to turn out this way. And I think that is just such a thing that art gives you, which is this outlet for kind of raging against the unfairness of sad things.
Did you have problems specifically when dead kids were involved?
Yes. Before we started recording, I was telling Katie and Vera my ridiculous secret, which is that I couldn't deal with anything with dead kids, as a kid. And I don't know if that was me sympathizing with the parents or with the kid, being a kid myself, if I didn't like images of dead knees, if that was
yikes.
I don't know exactly what it was, but Vera was asking me what was it, what were the dead kid dramas that you couldn't deal with, and my two examples are Richard III, which my parents just did not take me to because they
were saying because you were a child,
and there it's not
shouldn't have gone there.
It all happens off screen, even the kids are just killed. There's an order for them to be killed, and they're killed. But they were no, you can't do that. And then the other one is Kieslowski's Decalogue.
This is we were expecting you to say my girl.
Yeah, some other kid-related thing.
But yeah, we bought tickets to all 10 of the Decalogues. It was over 3 or 4 days. And and I forget which one this is, in the sequence. It's thou shalt have no other gods but me. And this kid dies by falling through the ice of a frozen lake. And he's really, really cute. And I just was so mad. I just walked off. We were supposed to see 8 more of these. And I was no.
Dunzo.
But you're over it now.
I am so over it. Yeah.
She loves watching kids fall through ice.
Now it's the greatest thing. I feel I hit some stage in puberty where I was just okay.
Kill all the
kids.
I'm going to say right now, I had never seen or read obviously I had never seen Game of Thrones, but I'd never read the books or anything like that. It came into that first episode without any kind of knowledge other than Lena Headey's in the show and I'm watching it. Spoilers for the first episode of Game of Thrones. They shove a kid out of the tower.
And you're I'm there for this.
I had never seen anything like this. And I was I'm so sold. This show is amazing. They just threw a kid out of that tower.
And see, I watched that with my mom, trying to get her into it because she loves Sean Bean. Oh my God. I was you're totally going to love the show. I left out the part that he's not in the whole thing.
Spoilers.
And yeah, when little Bran got pushed out the window, she was nope. No
yeah,
thanks.
I mean, that's definitely not the only person who's reacted like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
we're joking around, but it is literally the worst.
It is literally the worst thing you could watch. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And some people don't want to watch the worst thing they could possibly
watch. Which is why I totally have sympathy for people who rage against this episode. But, man, it's so good.
Did you tell her that Bran does not die?
I don't think I even got that far. She was done. It was just so clear she was done. And if she had heard about Sean B, oh man.
Well, are we?
I feel like we covered it.
Finished? I don't know. Maybe if we talk about like the sunrise.
Let's just debate, like, go scene by scene. What time of day?
I do feel like this is some of the most monumental stuff that happens to Xena and Gabrielle. So it needed its time and its space, and people will let us know if we left anything out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But in any case, everythingsterrible.com, and we'll be back next week to sing it out.
Yes. So meanwhile, you can do the thing where you follow us on all this stuff.
Yeah, come check us out on our website at xenawarriorpodcast.com. Everything you could ever need is there. You can listen to all of the episodes, and there is a link to our Patreon. If you have been enjoying listening to us, you might want to go check that out. We are also on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, leave reviews. So helpful all the time. We love hearing from you, and it helps other people find the podcast. And then find us on all the social medias. Xena Warrior Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. Where it's actually at Xena Warrior Pod. Okay, cool.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.